Hello everyone and welcome to another round of the AMX ESPORTS Championship here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Connery Medic. I'll be joined by the one, the only Sumil Aurora for the duration of this broadcast. Welcome one and all to the premier sim racing league of the South Korean country. This is absolutely, the series so far has been absolutely fantastic, and we're set for yet another action-packed event here, both at Summit Point Raceway for the Junior Cup, and of course we head on over to one of the homes of NASCAR in terms of the Charlotte Motor Speedway Oval for the influencer event in the AMX ESPORTS Championship proper. But we're ready and raring to go here, Sumil. It's what we're used to seeing in the Junior Cup, but of course that influencer event coming up is always going to be a bit of a, sometimes a bit of a flashpoint.
It really is going to be. I think the influencer race is going to be like having a pool party with your dogs. It'll be frantic, it'll be fun, it'll be full of chaos, but pretty cool right down to the very end. That's what that race is going to be like. As for the Junior Cup, Connery, there's just a bunch of narratives flowing around all the way through. After what we saw in the last race weekend with Yunho Park being robbed of a big win, not once but twice, I really can't wait to see what we have in store here this weekend.
Yeah, that was absolute craziness at the end of that race at Okayama in the Junior Cup. That was one of the most crazy finishes that I've seen in a very long time in sim racing, as Sung Young Kang from third place to first in that final lap, just getting part, you know, as the two leaders got themselves caught up into an incident. He gifted it on a silver platter, but sometimes you really do need to take your luck where you can get it here in this series.
Oh, absolutely. Sung Young Kang was smiling from ear to ear. We don't know that, but we can just assume that. Why wouldn't you? On the final lap, you're there in P3. It seems impossible for you to get the win. And suddenly, a couple of corners later, there you are in the lead. Just mind-blowing. I saw the race again yesterday. I was still fascinated just as much as I was when I saw it for the first time. But this race, I think it could be different. Maybe that has inspired some confidence in Sung Young Kang. Maybe he can come up with a bigger, more sustained challenge to Yunho Park this time out. And I wonder, are we going to see some teams and drivers put more effort than the others? Because remember, now we're well and truly into that mid part of the championship. And just like with anything, just like going to the gym or maybe learning a new language, you start to put a little bit less effort in the middle. Some do at least. Today is when we properly find out who's done that and who hasn't.
Yeah, we're getting to that very tough point in the season, and as I can bring that up to you now. We're basically slap bang right in the middle of the season, so it's, like you said, it's that point in the season where maybe your good run of form from the first couple of rounds starts to taper off a little bit, and then you start panicking, trying to find some form once again to try and get yourself back into things. But I gotta say, even with that craziness that was the end of Okayama, Yunho Park is still in a very, very good position at the moment. Of course, top of the standings coming into this one by a quite considerable margin over the rest of the field as well. So I don't think he's worrying too much, but he will be keeping in mind that he can't really afford to have too many more of those.
Oh, absolutely. Woo Jin Shin is breathing heavily down his neck all the time. And when you consider what sort of circuits we are going to next, as you can see on the screen right now, Laguna Seca, Lime Rock, Alton Park, Charlotte, Well, all of them, each and every one of them is a proper driver challenge, especially when we go to Laguna Seca. Over there, you just cannot take any slack at all. And Yunho Park, well, we all know how much he's been working hard in terms of doing the double championship, the senior one and the junior one. How much effort can he put in right there? Because those circuits, you just cannot go in without any good preparation. It will bite back big time. And the same can be said for Summit Point today, this weekend as well. It may be a bit shorter than all the other free circuits out there, but my word, what a challenge it really is.
Yeah, it is, and that brings me on to my next topic. Thank you very much, Subil. The track, it's a track that's very familiar to probably most road races on iRacing, and if not all of them, because it is one of those free tracks, as are all the tracks here in the Junior Cup. But this one in particular featured quite heavily in those rookie series, for example. So again, it's not going to be a case of the drivers having to learn the track in this instance. It's just nailing those particular elements of the circuit, those particular sectors that are really going to give you the advantage here rather than just the general knowledge.
Oh, 100%. Just carrying the flow over here at Summit Point is such an important challenge all the way through. I find it to be quite a tricky one, in all honesty. It's easy to drive on, but very hard to actually extract a ton of time from the circuit. You've got to nail your apexes properly, especially in that middle sector when there's one corner to the other. It can get pretty tricky at times for all the teams and drivers. That's one aspect to watch out for. And here's something that puts me in the commentary booth and not in the racing field. I, for the life of me, can never get turn number one correct on lap one. Someone just barges out, and that's partly due to my incompetence, but it's just a very tricky turn one, that right there. It narrows in inwards, and that can be quite the challenge on lap number one, too.
Yep, it really can be. So we've been no stranger to lap one incidents here in this particular series,
Exactly.
but hopefully drivers are able to keep it together coming down into there. But the track is working against them slightly. The track very narrow in places, so there's not a lot of room to work with regards to going 2, even 3 wide, but 3 wide might be a bit of a stretch here at the moment, but we can be optimistic about it. But I'm having a look at the practice times right now, and I'm keeping a very, very slight eye on them. Currently, it is Yunho Park at the very top of the order with regards to that one at the moment. But as you can see, the time's not representative. We don't have an entire hour of waffling on here in practice, unfortunately. I'm sure everyone would love to see that. But Yunho Park, just half a tenth of a second ahead of Sung Yong Kang at the moment. So the two drivers that, Sung Yong Kang had a decent run out there at Okayama. He did pick up the race win after all that carnage at the very front, but he was pretty strong in qualifying as well. I think it's just the race pace that is Sung Yong Kang's problem at the moment.
Yeah, Sung Yun is able to put out a bit challenge in qualifying. He's always able to just get pretty close right there. I think even in Okayama, we saw him within a couple of tenths of Yunho Park in qualifying, as was the case with Hee Jung Yang as well. The thing is, the fact is that they can't quite find a way to maintain it, both of them, both Sung Young and both Hee Jung, to Yunho Park in the main races. And it's not a major gap, it's only a couple of tenths here and there on every single lap. But that's the deal. On every single lap, they lose out a couple of tenths. And that may not sound too big in the grander scheme of things, but when you compound that up over an entire race distance, it ends up to ridiculous gaps like 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 6 seconds. That sort of stuff works in Yunho's favor. That is why he is your leader right there.
Yeah, and he was able to string together the laps in the early stages of Okayama to try and pull away, but we all know how well that went. In the very final lap, getting caught up with a little bit of lap traffic, and all of a sudden that means that he unfortunately does not take the race win in that situation, and had a bit of a tangle for P2 as well. So it's it's more of a synchronized spin for P2, wasn't it? It wasn't really a tangle. It was the two drivers making the same mistake at the same time. That's kind of caused that entire sequence.
I don't even know what to say. Really, at that moment in time, my brain, it should have gone into overdrive thinking of funny phrases, but I was just stunned to see that something like this can also happen right down at the very end of the race. Remember, final minute of that race, that is when it all happened. And the fact that it didn't even make contact would be fine. Contact would be justified, a little more sane in relation to what we saw. With synchronized spinning, and they didn't even touch each other once. That's how both of them lost their win. I don't know what to say. I still haven't gotten over it. And I can only hope that we get to see a similar level of drama on a more cleaner front. I want to see good racing here. I want to see more side-by-side action, which might be a bit too much to ask for at some point, but genuinely, we've all watched clips of iRacing over here. We've all watched clips of the Mazda MX-5s going out here and putting out some tremendous battles. If they can do it, I think the Radicals may just have a shout today.
Yeah, they possibly might just have a little bit of action out there. That's all that we're hoping for at the very end of the day, and well, we'll be able to get ourselves up into qualifying here in just a couple of moments' time. Everyone, of course, don't go away. We do have a little bit of a condensed schedule this time around, given that there are new pandemic restrictions coming into Korea, so that some of the locations that these guys are racing from and some of the locations that the Korean stream is being broadcasted from, unfortunately can't stay past 10 p.m. So that's why we would have to condense the schedule a little bit here and make sure that we are complying with the rules and regulations over there in Korea. But yeah, I mean, it's just 10 minutes less practice, I suppose, there, Sumo.
I mean, on paper, it doesn't sound too much when you understand that they've been having a week to do this. They've had ample of time. But those final 10 minutes, it's something psychological, more than just your skill, more than just your ability. You feel like you need more time if you aren't just comfortable enough on your first go. It's like a coping mechanism that, okay, you just want a little bit more. You just want something a little bit more, maybe a lap or two more. As if that lap can change everything. Spoiler alert, it will not change anything. It just gives you a little bit more confidence. But we'll just have to wait and see how each of these drivers respond to some of that. Many, of course, having done enough laps already, many knowing the way around, many knowing what they need to do. But Summit Point is such a place where markers are a bit limited in nature. So each single lap is a bit of an adventure in a way. You've got to manage it out in a different way every single time. So I think really it may not make much of a difference, but for some it might psychologically.
Yeah, and those are the differences that we have really been sort of harping on about over the course of the season. It's less, sometimes at the very high level of competition in sim racing, it's less the absolute skill of the drivers out there. When it comes to hot lapping in particular, it's more about the mental battles, and it's more about the strategy with those regards. So for the top guys, for Young-Ho Park, Sung Young Kang, Janan, that's the situation that those guys are in at the moment. But yeah, we're kind of all set here to go into qualifying here in the next couple of minutes, and we'll be able to get ourselves ready and raring to go. But at the moment, drivers just getting those last couple of opportunities in before they can get themselves all sorted and ready to go qualifying here at some point. Sumo, as we will very gradually bring this practice to an end. What are the expectations in qualifying? I know Young-Ho Park's been very, very strong, but can Sung Young Kang use his typically better qualifying performance to be able to get up onto the pole position?
Well, it's been typically better than his race performance. Let's put it that way. It's not been better than Young-Ho Park in any which way whatsoever. I expect some spins like the one you just saw on your screen from Woo Jin Shin, because Summit Point can really challenge you so much when you're trying to get that extra speed from that car. That's going to be one thing. That's a certainty in the race as well. Mostly, I just expect that gap between Young-Ho Park and Sung Young Kang to be narrower than it was before. Maybe not a couple of tenths, maybe just a tenth between both of them. That's the one thing I've been so desperate to see, because Young-Ho has cemented that gap between himself and all the others, but people are getting close. It's no longer half a second. It's no longer 4 tenths. It's now come down to 2 tenths of a second in quali trim the last time out. Can it get closer? Can everyone just chip away a little bit and get closer to Yunho Park in that sense? And maybe get an edge on him in the race as well. Remember, it's been 2 consecutive race weekends since Yunho Park has not won a race. Surprising it may sound considering how dominant he's been all the way through, but stuff just happens, and that sort of stuff can cost him the title.
Well, here we go then. We're going to be heading into our qualifying session here at Summit Point Raceway for the AMX Esports Junior Cup. You'll soon see all those cars swarm their way out of the pit area to go chasing for their laps here. Again, since the lap times are so quick here, we're just over a minute in terms of lap time here, so there's going to be plenty of opportunities here, Seoul, for drivers to make sure that they can get their times in. There's no restriction on how many flying laps they make.
And now this will be fun. 10 minutes of action, 10 minutes of drama here at Summit Point Raceway. And you've got to love it. You've got to love to see each of the drivers just sending it out there with their own cars. And yeah, for sure, it may not be a race. It may not have that same vigor and that same intensity of going side by side. But just watching these radicals, Conrad, just dart into every single one of these corners, honestly makes my day.
Yeah, it certainly makes my day as well, and these cars are kind of a little bit underrated, I think, as far as as far as iRacing is concerned. You know, you don't have really many of these types of cars in the service. Of course, you do have the older, of course, HPD ARX, for example. You have the LMP2, the kind of prototypes and things like that, but I think these cars have kind of a particularly sort of intriguing place in the landscape, I would say, and it's certainly very valid.
Yeah, 100%. It's a bit different. It's not a conventional race car. It's not, what can we say? It's not a conventional customer car as well. It's somewhat of a hybrid right there in the middle, the Radical SR8. And with Radicals, you normally expect less power. They're more of a corner-based car. This one is for sure. This one can dart into corners like no other car on the service. But what it really makes it stand out, firstly, is an ability to get caught out right there, like a driver behind did, but also, Conway, just the sheer amount of power available with this machine. It may seem a bit stupid to put a V8 in that car, but that's what Radical has done. They've slapped in a big 500 horsepower V8 at the back of a car that literally weighs a feather. It's insane how the power to weight ratio of this car really feels like when you're on the edge, and Yunho Park is showing us just that.
Yeah, he really is. Car looking pretty unsettled there coming through the final couple of corners, and as a result it is Jung Hyun Choi going to the very top of the timing sheets here. Where's Sung Young Kang? He's currently down in P3. Hee Jung An getting himself up into P2 there on the first set of flying laps. Woojin Shin has not been able to set himself a time just yet, as Junho Jang goes to the very top of the order. But a poor flying lap there from Yunho Park. It's a good job he has a good handful of them left to go.
Yeah, exactly. We saw him get a bit loose at the final corner right there. So maybe he's just not trying to put a qualifying lap right now. Maybe he's just warming up those tires. And you see right there, Conway, a couple of cars in the background spun around. I think it's going to be a trend. It's going to be a big factor here in qualifying. We've already seen around 4 or 5 cars go wide and maybe hit the grass, lose control. That sort of stuff can be so distracting when you're on your lap. Expect a few more of this to happen all the way through.
Yeah, and it's going to be particularly potentially a little bit sketchy with regards to that. Let's just see as Yunho Park comes across the line. It is a 1:08.076. Again, not a great lap there from Yunho Park. So Yunho Park is currently struggling to put a lap together here at the moment. Woojin Shin is behind him, and he hasn't even set a lap time just yet, as Sung Young Kang goes to the very top of the order. But at this point, as we are reaching the halfway point in the qualifying session, it seems like Yunho Park needs to get a move on. It's the same with all those drivers that haven't set times just yet. Yunwoo Na gets himself onto the board at least, as Sukhyun Nam gets himself up into 7th place. But Yunho Park still struggling there at the moment, but there's no doubt that he'll be able to put together a lap here. Let's ride on board with him, at least coming through the final little sector here. going down the hill slightly now in towards the final corner. Got to be careful of the grass on the outside there. You don't want to catch that in iRacing whatsoever. Now get yourself up over the curb as much as you dare to try and get all the exit speed all the way down the pit straight. Then what's the time going to be? It looks very, very good for Yunho Park, a 1:04.992. Not good enough for pole at the moment though. Sung-Yun Kang still has him beat by 300ths.
Only 300s though. That is a bit mind-boggling, but it's just following the trend of what we saw at Okayama. Yunho Park starts slow, has one qualifying lap slower than Sung-Yun Kang, and then rams it right home and gets a big gap in his last few qualifying laps. Maybe that's what happened at Okayama. Is the same thing going to happen here? I think it just looks a tad bit more closer this time, or a tad bit more exciting this time out. I don't know, I'm really, really intrigued by seeing what Sung-Yun Kang can do right now. That right there was a mighty good lap, but the times can only go lower now.
Yeah, and well, 4.5 minutes left in the session. Shin Woo-jin, by the way, was able to set himself a time finally. 3rd place at the moment behind Yunho Park. And oh, that's an invalid lap if I ever saw one. Out into the gravel there for Woo-jin Shin, so this one won't count as far as his time is concerned. Yunho Park across the line and does go pole position by a 10.5 over Sung-Yun Kang. That's the Yunho Park that we're more used to seeing, as Hee Jung-an sets a very good time, gets himself up into 3rd place. He's only 0.003 of a second behind Kang.
Very nice. Now things are getting rather spicy here in the top 3. Jung-an, I expect so much of him this time out. Again, he was brilliant at Okayama, as he has been all year round. Maybe if not to Yunho Park, there's this lovely battle developing between himself and Sung-Yun Kang all the way through. That's got me on the edge, got me intrigued about who can have the upper hand all the way through. Keep a close eye on what he can do this time out. The story remains the same, Connery. Yunho Park can just pull out something from the bag. I don't know where he gets it from, but he always seems to have that extra 10th waiting in the wings, somehow.
Yeah, he really does, over everyone else. I mean, it was even hidden in the practice there, as the practice times are a lot closer than what the gap is from P1 to P2 at the moment. Remember, you've got a couple of slipstream games going on here as well. You've got a lot of drivers in this one single train just trying to draft off of each other. That's going to be worth a whole bunch, especially heading down that very long front straight. So watch for draft passes coming into the race, into turn number 1 in particular in this one. But of course the rest of the lap, quite technical I would say, especially that middle sector where you basically have one hairpin after another.
Oh yeah, that middle sector is so challenging, and you can see racing like that happening and someone almost always going wide. You know what I love about this circuit? What I love about Summit Point is that the track limits are super evident. You make one slight error and the grass is cambered as well, so it's not like you can come back immediately and join in perfectly fine. Over here, if you make an error, if you lose control, the car will slide and there's no way you can get back on track until the grass ends or the gravel ends. I just love it. It's so crazy. Puts the driver on the focus all the time and forces you to stay in. Isn't that what we want from a racetrack? Just makes you a better driver and respects track limits in the end.
Yeah, it really does. There's Woo-jin Shin. 4th place for the number 4 at the moment. You couldn't write a better script, but Woo-jin Shin will be hoping that the script is ripped up and he gets a little bit higher on the starting grid here today. 2 tyres into the gravel is okay. That won't invalidate your lap, and is in fact the slightly faster way through that corner. You just got to be so careful though, since these cars, like many cars in iRacing, do not like getting 2 tyres onto grass and or gravel. So you do have to be very careful doing that. But Woo-jin Shin at the moment, a couple of tenths of a second off of those very front runners, but if he can improve by a tenth or 2 here, then he'll definitely mix it in and try and haul himself up onto that front row of the starting grid. 1 minute to go as Woo-jin heads his way through the final corner, and Sung-Yun Kang, a lap out of nowhere, goes pole.
Wow, that is a big one. And just take a look at that gap, only 300ths of a second. Yunho Park comes up again. He's got a counter answer in his mind. Is it going to be any faster though? That's the question we answer over the next minute. This is going to be so much fun. Remember, Conry, it's so hard to find extra time from this circuit because the corners are so limited and they are so challenging in nature. This one has to be a superb lap to get pole position once again.
The man in the purple trimmed car looks to go purple in terms of time. This is the closest qualifying that we've ever had here in the Junior Cup so far. I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. Yunho Park doesn't have any draft ahead of him for that front straight though, so you just got to be wary of that. Maybe this lap is not going to be it, but Yunho Park is trying to wheel that car through the apexes there. Now he only has one more to go, and then he'll be able to come across the line and, well, we'll see what the time is. Through the final corner now. Doesn't attack that as much as I've seen him before, but let's see what the run to the line is. It is a 104.518 to beat. It is a 104.426 for Yunho Park, and he puts it on pole in the dying moments of qualifying. Sung-Young Kang has already headed his way, well, he is on a final lap here, I believe. We'll just have to wait and see and watch this one run through, but oh my word, that is so close. And, well, he's beaten by about a tenth of a second in the end, which is a pretty big margin when you consider the lap times, but it came very late.
Well, when Yunho Park is over and done with this, when he gets back home and empties his pocket, he'll take out his phone, his keys, his wallet, and an extra tenth of a second in quali all the time. How does he do it? How does he have that extra tenth with him at every single circuit?
It does seem like he's completely unbeatable in qualifying. We saw a potential moment where it could have happened. You know, Sung-Young Kang gave him a good challenge. Sung-Young Kang gave him a good challenge more than once. But in the end, it is the dominance of Yunho Park that prevails here in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. What a fantastic young driver he is shaping up to be. But that is the end of qualifying for this round of the Junior Cup. We'll get ourselves switched over into that race session, and then we'll be able to take a look at your starting grid for this round at Summit Point Raceway. Yunho Park, by the skin of his teeth, pole position here today with Sung-Young Kang in P2. Hee Jung-an P3 with Junho Jang P4. Woo Jin-shin starts 5th today with Suk-Yun Nam in P6. Then we have Junhee Park and Jung-Hyo Kim P7, P8 respectively. Hong So-jang and Jung-Hun Choi line up P9 and P10. Kyo Lee and Jin-Wook Choi, P11 and 12 for those drivers. Then, at the very back of the grid, you have Min-gyal Kim, Woo Jae-sung, Yeonwoo Na, Tae-hun Kim, and Hyesung Na, rounding out the 17-car starting field here today. So, after a particularly exciting end to the qualifying, now we have to look forward to a potentially exciting start to the race here, Sumil. And as always, it is a rolling start here in this series. Of course, we had that first round as the standing starts, and we figured that that's probably not a good idea in these cars. So rolling starts it is, but I'm very conscious of that run down in towards turn 1.
Likewise, Conry, it could be a potential game changer. We've seen so many big race-winning challengers disappear at turn number 1. At Summit Point, it's trickier than ever. If you can just stay cautious over there, that's when the race properly begins for you, because there's so much to be done over the course of the next 20-odd minutes. I love it. I think this right here is all about turn 1 and the consistency you can get after that. Yunho Park has a big target on his back now.
Here we go then. So, just the remaining 20 seconds of stationary, well, behind the pace car there. It is a front row consisting of Yunho Park and Sung-Young Kang. Two drivers that have really come to the forefront, at least over the last couple of rounds of this competition. The challengers from behind end up being not that close in the grand scheme of things. But the main point for this particular event is, can that number 87 car, the black trim car on the right-hand side, keep up with the purple of Yunho Park when it comes to race pace, because that's what he's been lacking over the course of this season. So, got a lot to look forward to here in this round of the AMX Junior Cup at Summit Point Raceway. And we are just moments away from getting ourselves started here. They're all going to round their way through the final corner. Remember, it is go on green here in this series. Drivers waiting for that start signal, and they've been given it. Might have been a jump start, though, from a couple of rows deeper in the field, but we'll investigate that later with the stewards as they all head their way down in towards turn number 1 then. On the brakes into here, gotta be careful, a little bit of a door banging, and oh no, Seoul Kang has been spat out into the grass after, side-to-side contact with the Hee Jung-an and getting collected behind as well.
That was our race winner from the last time out. The Okayama race winner has been turned around at the very first corner. Damages is off. That's a good news for him. But is it good enough? I don't think so. That was a big race challenge. There's a car in the background. That has to be Shinwoo Jin. No, Jinny Park that's in the gravel trap there.
Jinny Park pushing wide through the first hairpin. Little bit of issues here on the first lap, but let's go back and take a small look at exactly what happened there down in towards turn number 1. We'll get a better view of it here. Here's the chopper view. Here's the battle for P2. As you can see, Hee Jung-an nosing towards the inside. He's completely free to do that. He's trying to follow through in the tyre tracks, but he just overshoots the apex just a little bit, direct into the side of Seung Kang, and driver collected behind that, had no way of avoiding it.
Exactly, things got a bit too tight right there, turn number 1, and that piece of contact, well, on its own it wasn't enough, but the fact that it got him unsettled, the fact that it got Seung Kang's car a bit unstable at that moment is what eventually caused that big turnaround right here. And there we go. That is a mighty big hit. In terms of damage, he's all right, Conry, but the damage here is more mental and more in terms of time. He's only got 18.5 minutes to go right now. This will take some recovery drive, honestly, to get back to anywhere close to where he was in the start.
Yeah, it will be. But we will track his progress all the way through this one. Yunho Park, though, while we've been on the replays, he has extended his leading gap up to a second, trying to pull away from the number 13 of Hee Jung-an, doing a pretty good job at it for the moment. And, he's got to be hoping that there's going to be no lap traffic issues, just like there was at Okayama. That's his worst nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Yunho Park right now, if he could, he would just install the biggest megaphone in front of his car for later on. First up, we get to see this battle. Mingyal Kim going for the move at turn number 1 and executing it to perfection. Also, John fights back though, and this turns out to be probably one of the more exciting mid-pack battles I've seen in this season so far. Yeah,
absolutely. So Hongso looking, one of the big overtaking moves is just swing it through that kink, and then, not do that. Not do that at all. As he runs straight into the back of Mingyal Kim, and it causes more carnage behind. That was a very, very silly error.
Too messy. It got a bit too messy, and you ended up seeing the number 21 of Junior Kim also make that error right there. Why? He just could not avoid it at all. Here's a quick look at the replay, and you know what's coming up. It's just a simple miss of the braking points, and tap, off they go. But watch out for the third car. Watch out for what he could have done. When you get in that gravel trap, I swear, nothing you can do. The rear end will just snap off and off you go.
Yeah, the orange car was trying to squeeze its way through there. Optimistic, but ended up losing control of the car on the gravel, like you said. I think that was Jung-kyo Kim. That was the driver trying to squeeze his way through on there. Unfortunate as far as I'm concerned. It's always a tricky thing. You know, you have two positions on the cars that you can gain just by going straight down the middle, like he did. But that route down the middle takes you out onto the gravel, and you just have to hold on to the car.
Yeah, no choice. What could he have done in that case? Maybe darted down to the left. What that could have done is maybe put his car in the grass, and that could have been potentially worse. So whatever's happened has happened. Now, yeah, this is turning out to be fun.
Yeah, so Hee Jung-an must have had a problem because he's been cycled back from P2 down into that 4th place. So I'll have to see exactly what has happened to Hee Jung-an. We'll get the replay of it, actually. I think this is it. As we will take a look. He's in second place here. Is it an issue through the middle sector, or is it something else? Let's take a look.
Mostly got to be a self-spin of some sort. Here's a good idea. I think it's going to be the grass, considering the way he's pounding around at that circuit. Let's take a quick look again. It's... Oh my word. My word, that is... Yeah, that is a bit of a weird slide. The Radical bites back. Nothing more than a self-error. It's just carrying way too much speed in that corner.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's just the weight shift. Because he pulled it to the left and then immediately flipped it to the right, and the car just didn't like it whatsoever. Caused a bit of a moment. Well done to hold on to it and not to get collected by cars behind, but it does lose him a couple of positions.
Yeah, I was wondering, it's a bit of an organic loss of time. It's not like he's had a major crash or something like that. It must have been an error, and there we were checking on exactly what it was. Does it stop him though? Does it take away his motivation in any way whatsoever? It absolutely does not, because here is him once again trying to get P3 back for himself and chasing Woo Jin Shin as intently as he possibly can now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of a battle further behind as well that has yet to sort itself out. Hongsu, Zhang and Yonwoo Na deciding to get close, and car off. Didn't quite see who that was, and can't quite find who they are.
Well, it's just getting a bit too wrong for quite a few drivers here today, isn't it? That's just what the circuit is all about. Here's that replay again.
We're back live.
No, we're back live. Here we are back live. Okay, it's all totally all right. But then again, don't worry, we might see a few more accidents like that happen once again. In many places, it's just a camber contour when you're trying to carry more speed and you miss it by a bit and you haven't got that camber to support you. Oof, there you are on the grass. And I don't think the guys at Summit Park really asked for so many lawnmowers here today, if anything.
I mean, these cars do ride pretty low to the ground, so you can probably get a good cut out of it. I think my grass needs to come inside of my house as well, so I might rent one of these and get them to do it. But, out into the gravel. I don't need my gravel raked, so that's what Woo Jin Shin was trying to advertise as part of the feature set of the car. But third place still at the moment for Woo Jin Shin, but it allows Hee Jung-an just to apply that little bit more pressure onto the rear spoiler of that number 4 car now. Again, it's a simple case of that single error, just, it can pile on and become so much more, but the drivers do have the ability to make sure that isn't the case and it doesn't lose them more positions.
Yeah, very challenging though. You've got to be on the top of your game all the time to make sure that things are going to be okay. And in terms of Hee Jung-an, he's right there behind. He is in P3 right now. He's not been in the best run of form all the way through. Whoa. And there's a lock-up, there's some smoke, there's a car on the wrong line. Yeah,
a bit of lap traffic, and now Hee Jung-an gonna look to try and make the move. Potentially, not through the kink, that's not really an overtaking opportunity. There, someone's gone off wildly in the background there. Yunho Park. I think Yunho Park might have been involved. He's got himself a 4X.
Again? Oh my. Oh my. If that's the case, I think Yunho Park, literally at this case, he would love to install a gigantic megaphone in front of his car that would play the message, "Move out of the way, slow car," on repeat after all that's happened last week and all that we could get to see on this replay right now as well. Where has it gone wrong for him?
Yeah, because I saw it come up on my instant report, Yunho Park getting himself a 4X, but I don't see where that is. So maybe that there's just a little bit of a glitch. We will see here in just a couple of moments. I think he might just be fine, but yeah, it's always a scary moment where I see the race leader get himself a 4X up on my screen there. And fortunately for Yunho Park, it's not an issue that he actually had, but he likes to keep us on edge, I suppose.
Oh, that got me worried. That got me worried so much, because if it was an incident that got him a 4X, he probably would have lost ample of time as well. And remember the incident limit to only 20 incident points. When everyone is just slipping around and sliding around like they are here today, 20 can be achieved very easily in 20 minutes, I suppose so.
So, know. We'll have to keep an eye on it because it's 25 actually for these the instant limit for the Junior Cup. But yeah, you are absolutely right though. They can come thick and fast, especially if you've been in the wars over the course of the race. You do accumulate those quite quickly, and of course 25 is the first point where you get a drive-through penalty, and then you get a drive-through penalty for another 25, and you get a drive-through penalty for, well, not possible to get another 25 because then you'd be disqualified at 70 instant points total. So so yeah, that's certainly something that you do want to avoid. And well, we've had it. I think we had a couple of disqualifications in the first race of the season, if I remember correctly. It wasn't happening though. Going on at the very back of the order. This is P11, 12, 13. So Jung Hyo Kim, Jung Hyun Choi, and Taehyun Kim all scrapping it out for P11.
Nice. This is nice to see. The intensity just never, ever dies in that midfield pack right now. And Jung Hyun Choi, you can just see the way he's driving from his approach. Not really there or thereabout to make a move, but constantly just diving to the inside line and sending out a reminder to Jung Hyo Kim that, mate, if you make an error, I'm going to be right there to pick up the pieces, and errors right here can come aplenty. While we focus on this though, I've got to remind everyone, Sung Young Kang got taken out on that very first lap and dropped down all the way to P number 16. Right now, Sung Young Kang is up to P6 in only half of the race, Connery. If that is not probably one of the best recovery drives we've seen in the Junior Cup all the way through the season, I honestly have no clue which else would be that.
Well, his last lap was about 0.8 of a second faster than the driver ahead of him, which is Kai-Hu Lee. So, yeah, it's even half a tenth faster than what Yun-Ho Park was able to put in as well. So I think that's what you were talking about there, CML. So he's going like a bat out of hell at the moment and looking to try and chase some time. But there's only 8 minutes left in the race. The race does go by when you've been having a lot of fun, I suppose. But at the moment, the sort of main battles that are featuring at the moment is this one for P8 between Min-Gyal Kim and Junhee Park. Of course, Junhee Park having that first lap incident down into the hairpin where he pushed incredibly wide and had to let a decent amount of cars through on him. But of course, we have that battle further back in the pack for P11 as well.
What should observe how they are driving, because this one has the potential to blow up in a fun way in only a couple of seconds. Something's happened to Woo Jin Shin though. Woo Jin Shin is tumbling down the order. That has to be a self-mistake. It looked like it when we started this particular view that he's coming back from the grass or the gravel. Just has to be that. Now there we go.
Just a spin. Just a spin into the turn one. We'll take a look at the onboards. Again, these cars are pretty sensitive on entry, so if you flick it in too hard, it just came around on him. He didn't even flick it hard into the apex.
Exactly. Maybe not the weight transfer getting done properly. Maybe just turning in and carrying a little, just a tad bit more speed. It couldn't have been the throttle. He wasn't at that place where you get your throttle ready for the corner exit. So there's that. But just a reminder of how fragile these Radical SR8s really are, right down to the very core of it. Slight errors, minor things here and there, and off they go. Really, this guy's a proper driver's challenge, and just completing a race in this one without a spin is quite the achievement, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, in these cars especially, they are free cars and available to everyone, right from World Championship drivers down to rookies in terms of licensing, but that doesn't mean they are the easiest car to drive. In fact, I would say the opposite. It's a pretty difficult car to try and get to grips with. But across the line now, 6 minutes left to go in this event. As well, our battles kind of in the midfield have fizzled out a little bit, but of course we still have this one now for P10 because Yun-Ho Na has really been caught by Jung Hyo Kim here, and we might even see a 3-car scrap for P10 in the dying moments of this race. Remember though, we still do have a potential bit of action going on for second as well between Junho Jang and Hee Jung An, as Hee Jung An's trying to recover from a few problems a little bit earlier on in the race where he was running in P2 and now he's about, well, a couple of tenths of a second. Oh no! Oh no. That's not good.
Well, that's not how you get your position back. That's how you lose a couple of positions. Hee Jung An once again dropping down to P number 5. It's just that thing again, Conry. It's just showing you why Yunho Park is at the top, because the others are just making minor mistakes like this one. In an ideal world, this never should have happened. This just wasn't a move from that far out. Hee-jung tried, and in the middle of the corner, that is when things got wrong for him. It had to. They had to make contact. Perhaps it's just Hee-jung maybe getting a bit impatient after a comeback. You've seen all those positions tumble down in front of you. You want to get them back, and when you see those final ones right in front of your eyes, you end up making impulsive decisions, like that minor steering movement in the middle of the corner. Maybe that's why we saw this happening eventually.
Yeah, it could be. And of course, the stewards are going to keep a very, very close eye on proceeding. Sung-Young Kang down on towards the pit lane. If we can get a good view of him. There we go. What's happened here? He was given a drive-through penalty. Interestingly enough.
Well, we'll have a bit of a thought about that. That's a bit absurd as to why Sung-Young Kang has got that done. Because as far as I can remember, he was the one turned around on the first lap instead of the one who was turning the others. Perhaps a bad rejoin?
Possibly. It could have been. I didn't let the replay run all of the way through, I suppose. So that could possibly be it. And well, I'll have to check the spreadsheet after the race with the stewards' deliberations on it. So yeah, that's an interesting one. So from what could have been a pretty good day for Sung-Young Kang has been anything but. And we'll get to see ourselves a new fastest lap by Yunho Park. He just keeps getting faster and faster.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that faster than what we saw in qualifying?
Well, let's see. Yeah, you're right.
By 10.5.
Yeah, so
wow.
Just for the context for everyone, he just did a 104.294. His pole position time was a 104.426. So yeah.
Wow.
Quite quick, and of course, there's a bit of cloud cover that came in that cooled down the track a little bit there, but I mean, not by a 0.2 of a second, I would have thought.
And one comment that's absolutely nailed everything is this comment from our Korean friend. Unfortunately, I can't quite read Korean, so I can't pronounce his name, or her name for that matter. But they've asked, is it qualifying? That's how good Yunho Park has been. My word. It's the race, by the way. It is the race. We are getting to see the action right now. But the fact that Yunho has just created such a gap to himself, he's made this race feel like a qualifying session, because for him, it's just been himself, the track, the open air, and some purple lap times everywhere. It's just fantastic to see this sort of driving quality out here.
I like your rhyming skills as well. That was pretty cool. But
I rhyme?
Yeah.
Hey!
Here and there.
Check it out.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have a look at it afterwards. But battle for P3 though. In the dying moments of the race, we've got ourselves an altercation between Kaiho Lee and Hee-jung An. So, ding part 2, I suppose, here in this one, as Kaiho Lee looking to try and defend once again from Hee-jung An, not for second this time, but the third, the final step of the podium. And hopefully there's not contact between the two orange cars this time around.
No, exactly. The orange cars will. They've found themselves in a little bit of trouble here in the AMX Esports Junior Championship. Not so much in Formula 1, and there we go. That is a mighty huge slide. My word, that got us on the edge of our seats.
It did, and that might be Hee-jung An's, last chance, or last mistake before he writes off his race at this point, because there's just around about a minute ago, so just around 2 laps, and with a mistake like that, he's been put out of striking distance. He's about a second and a half adrift of P3 at the moment. So, yeah, that might have put one of the final nails in the coffin. As far as he's concerned, there's again this continuing scrap here for P7 between Hong So-jang and Juni Park. Juni Park still able to get his way by. The light green looks on the dark green coming down in towards turn number 1. Just shows the nose, nothing more. And Hong So will maintain position for now, but he has a lot of pressure to deal with.
Exactly. I think the main problem between contact when we're having battles like this one is primarily the differences in the mid-corner speeds. Because a lot of the drivers usually, the drivers behind end up lunging, which means that they get very, very close towards the entry of the corner. And things just get wrong like that in the middle part, which is why eventually we just end up seeing a lot more contact. Is it just the drivers cracking under pressure in the final parts of the race, Conry? Because the errors have been aplenty now in this part.
Could be bits of lap traffic. Careful, you know. You don't want to have a bit of deja vu from what you experienced last round. But it is the final lap now. And Yun Ho Park looking to try and pick up another win. His car's going off ahead of him. He can't catch a break here in terms of that traffic, can he? Just trying to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he's put himself in the right places at the right time over the course of this final lap as he'll head his way down in towards the final corner here. And it's going to be another dominant win for the number 12, doing double duty here in this series. He wins here at Summit Point in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. It's Yun Ho Park all the way as he extends his advantage at the front of the points order.
Commanding win after commanding win after commanding win after commanding performance and not getting the win, but still you get the idea. Yun Ho Park is just cementing himself as the dominator of the AMX Junior Championship.
Okay, what happened here for P2 then? Because Kaiho Lee and Junho Jang are swapped around. So I'll have to watch the replay of this one. I didn't see them side by side coming across the line, but we will just have to have a look and wait and see. There, oh, it's an incident.
Oh, what?
Junho Jang got himself involved with the lap traffic. There's the start-finish line. Kaiho Lee takes a surprising second place.
Henry, I heard you say the word deja vu a couple of minutes ago. What in the world is going on here? Again, deja vu from the last time, Hart. Yuho Lee gets involved right there. Junho Jang says, right, I will make that position my own. Until this happens. What is that? Oh. This has to be the most intense game of Swapperoo since last week. And last week was frantic.
Oh my words, that is crazy. And I don't think it was really the lap traffic's fault this time around, because I think Junho Jang just got himself caught up over the curb on the inside as he was trying to pass on the inside through there, and he just kind of unsettled the car, sent him straight into the side of the lap traffic, and well, it's not for P1 this time around, it's for P2, but it's the same results. Kaiho Lee out of nowhere grabs himself second place.
Honestly, what in the world just happens here on the final laps of the AMX Junior Championship? Somebody, have you got an idea? Can you put it down into words? I'm having a hard time.
Well, you'll have to take yourself a couple of moments just to reflect on that, because we have, of course, the finishing results here. Unofficially, of course, pending post-race reviews and some such, but Yun Ho Park by 14 seconds over Kaiho Lee. That is a margin and a half, with Junho Jang so unfortunate. They're still third final step of the podium, but could have been second step so easily if he was a little bit more cautious with the traffic. Hee Jung An, up on a down day for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are penalties coming afterwards for the driver of the 13 there. Woo Jin Shin in P5, Sung Young Kang, after getting bits of contact in through turn number 1 and getting a drive-through penalty. In fact, he still comes home in P6, so at least there's some the okay amount of points there for Sung Young Kang. Junhee Park P7, Mingal Kim P8, Hong So Jang and Yeon Woo Na round out the top 10, and then the bottom bit of the field, Jung Hyun Kim, Jin Wook Choi, Taehyun Kim, Sukhyun Nam, Jung Hyun Choi, and then you've got yourself Woo Jae-sung and Hyo-sung Na rounding out the 17-car finishing results provisionally here today in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. So, with that said and done, another bit of late race drama, I suppose. But in the end, it is a return to the top step of the podium for the championship leader of Yun Ho Park. And did we expect anything less?
Did we? No, nothing else. To be honest, it was just expected. Maybe we just could have seen slightly more in terms of Sung Young Kang and Hee Jung An. But those mistakes, Conry, completely self-inflicted. For Hee Jung An, it was twice. We've only got to wonder now what happened with Sung Young Kang later on. Why wasn't he able to complete his comeback? What happened with that drive-through penalty? But the fact remains the same. Both drivers just ended up making errors that just could not get them anywhere close to where Yunho Park was. And that is what is making the difference. Maybe experience? I don't think it's experience because Yunho honestly has almost equal experience to all the other drivers here in this series in terms of time. Just something else, something intangible, something about Team DCT Esports in the main series as well. That's just creating this gap between them and all the others. I can only wonder what it is right now, and your guess will be as good as mine. But seriously, what a performance all the way through. Not a single error, and his race fastest lap was faster than his quali lap. Let that sink in.
Oh my words! Yeah, that was pretty crazy when I first saw it pop across my screen. That was again another dominant performance from Yunho Park. Again, little bit of mixed results further down the order. I think the main problem with a handful of drivers here in this series is not so much their speed, but their consistency and their racecraft needs a little bit more work. You know, we saw bits of unnecessary contact out there, which is never what we want to see, and we just see these mistakes start to set in, these self spins, these unsettled moments over curbs and things like that. I think some drivers really need to cut that out if they're going to have any chance at scoring some decent points over the course of this season. Of course, I think the championship for the vast majority of them has gone completely at the moment. But for everyone else, it is the case of just making sure you can get those consistent laps in, and it just comes down to practice, I suppose.
Yep, exactly. Practice and more race-based practice. With of course this championship, you can find other drivers. You can organize group practice sessions, work together, work. I mean, it'll be like working with your rivals, but it gives you more realistic practice than you're just practicing yourself in terms of time practice sessions or whatever it may be. And it's not like the radicals. Well, they do have some league races organized, but it's just not the same when you're competing against somebody online and competing with the people you are going to race with. For sure, you might reveal some of your tricks and whatever it may be, but I think there's a lot more to gain for all these drivers to work together. I mean, not against Yunho in a way, but just to sharpen up their racecraft in the coming weeks when we get to the next round. So I think maybe that'll be a good idea. Just going out there, working together, racing together, and knowing which driver you can trust and which one you can't.
Yeah, it's all part of racing. It's part of what I would say is the meta game. I think it's everything surrounding the racing that can actually influence the racing as well, which is the most exciting thing about sports in general. You know, it's a very heavily sort of mind game sort of situation in a lot of the cases. But with that though, we will get ourselves a very, very quick break before we get ourselves into the influencer race of the AMX Esports Championship at Charlotte Motor Speedway Oval under the lights. You'll want to see us for that. We'll be back in a bit.
미쉐린, 미식의 길을 안내하다. Michelin, Motion for Life.
Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the AMX Esports Championship here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And well, we'll be racing under the lights here in the home of NASCAR in the US of A. It's myself, Connery Maddock, and of course Sumil Aurora joining me for this particular broadcast. We have the influencers out there, Sumil, and well, that can be its own both cause for concern and also a bit of excitement as well.
Oh yes, I've just got the weather report from Charlotte's best weather person, and let me just sum it up. It says chances of precipitation 0%, humidity 24%, but contact 99.95, Connery. That's not just a joke, it really might be 99.95. We might just get some crazy contact right here. But as I mentioned early on the broadcast, it's just like having a pool party with a group of dogs. Frantic, fun, full of chaos, but pretty cool at the end. That is what I expect for this race right here today.
Yeah, that's certainly what I am expecting as well here in this one. It's an absolutely fantastic opportunity for these drivers to be able to maybe score their team a good handful of points here, and that's the important thing in the end. It is all about the points. Especially for teams that are not DCTE racing at the moment. Let's take ourselves a look at the standings as they are here for the moment in the AMX Esports Championship. Well, you have, for example, DCTE Racing at the top of the order, with DCTE Racing in second place. So it's 112 and 108 points respectively. Then you've got the Atlas BX Esports team in third. And we've seen Atlas BX start to come to the forefront just a little bit over the past couple of rounds. They've had some decent results over the past while, Sumil, but I think that restarted race at Laguna Seca really didn't help their cause.
Yeah, at this stage, Atlas BX need just that. They need an atlas and a compass at this stage. They really just lost their direction. And they did that big time at Laguna Seca. And they need their influencers to guide them through right here in their championship battle at this stage. It's a big ask. It's a big ask considering all things that may happen and considering how influencers might be the big variable. But remember, it is that very team who won the big 35-point race at the Indianapolis Oval when we had the three drivers all together. So, if anything, don't count the influencers out here this time.
Yeah, and that's for certain. You know, it might have been the sort of first event nerves at the Daytona Oval. Then we headed in towards the offline event, which comes with its own little intricacies and little nuances. But now we head back into the online world with the influencers. And, well, this time around, they don't have the experience of one of the sim drivers or one of the real-life drivers to get in the car before them or after them. It's all them, all on their own out there now.
Oh, absolutely. This is literally the moment of truth for them. Now we get to see the biggest gaps. As I've been saying all the way through, your influencers are your key points. They are your big variables. You can expect something from your sim drivers. You can expect something from your real world drivers. So a lot of the teams will be locked in terms of time, in terms of differences between both those sets of drivers. But the influencers is where there is the greatest potential for variances in terms of driver quality. And that could be up here for offer here at Charlotte. And what makes it even more special this time up is that unlike Indy, unlike Daytona, you actually might have to break and turn a little bit here at Charlotte. It's a more technical course. It's a little bit tighter in that aspect. And really, it's all going to come down to who's practiced the most with their teammates, because in this case, you really can't predict, you really can't tell. Single lap pace here is going to be critical because gaps will form eventually, as they always end up doing. But unlike Daytona, you can actually close those with driver skill.
Yeah, you really can, but the skill is a little bit less of a factor here. Of course, it's not completely irrelevant. You still need to place your car in the right place at the right time. You still need to know when to make those moves and when to not make them. But in this situation, it is an oval. It is the great equalizer as far as, you know, the draft keeping each other in contention. It's just you have to play things smart in these sorts of races. You can't just go be brash and go for moves that aren't on and ruin your race, ruin other drivers' races as well. That same goes for the defense as well. You can't just come across, cut someone off up on the bottom and have a big crash. That's simply not going to be the way that the fast drivers are going to be racing here. The drivers that get good results are going to keep themselves out of trouble, file their way to the front, and then make those moves in the last couple of laps of the race.
100%. And what I'm genuinely keen to see is how they race together here. Because let's not kid ourselves, let's be honest. At Indianapolis, most of the influencers were sheltered. They were put in situations where they didn't have to go side by side. In that middle part of the race, where the chunks and the gaps open up more than any time else. Now, they are, I wouldn't say exposed right there. They are put right out in the firing line. They've got to do that side by side action by themselves. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And I hope they're not carrying the Daytona mentality that you can go 3 wide, because at Charlotte, genuinely, can you go 3 wide? I don't think so. I don't think that'll be the best of ideas, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a big question. I think, well, you can definitely go 2 wide through here. For 3 wide,
Yeah.
Maybe. It depends. It requires a lot of respect between the drivers, and sometimes that's not there, I will have to say. But there's they really want to fight for every position. But it requires each driver knowing that I have to stick to my lane here. I have to run the top all the time. If you're the guy or the girl on the top, you have to just run that line all the way around. You can't just deviate from the line, cut down a little bit. The guy in the middle is going to get squeezed then, and then you're going to have a big collapse in terms of a wreck. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to those. We might see a bit of 3 wide action here. I'll be surprised if it ends up with everyone coming out unscathed, though. I think is probably the phrase that I'm going to use. But of course, remember, we also have cautions to use over the course of the event as well. And the stewards have actually said in the drivers' briefing, well, we're going to treat this oval race just a little bit differently to what has come before. They'll be more happy to throw the caution flag when it's required than they have been previously. So make of that what you will.
So I've just got the updated version of the weather report. It says, yep, good chance of a caution as well, just as good as contact. Yeah, this is going to be crazy. And I hope that the influencers haven't seen those crazy clips that we end up seeing on Twitch or on YouTube of people just switching their lanes, going from the extreme inside to the outside and getting the win over somebody. Does not work right here. It is a bad idea. Just be predictable, just be safe, which might be quite something here at Charlotte. Honestly, that tri-oval section can create some contact as well, because I at least expect 2 people to dip down their rear wheels over there and end up spinning out. At least a couple. That's bound to happen today.
Yeah, possibly. It is a well-defined rule in oval racing that you cannot pass below the yellow line, but of course you can potentially dip 2 tires below, like you said, and try and get yourself a little speed on the bottom. It is the shorter way around, remember, but some cars don't like it. I mean, you don't usually see it in the NASCAR cars with regards to doing it on the banking, but these cars have a little bit more in the way of downforce compared, well, it's sort of the downforce sticks them to the road a little bit better, so that they can potentially run the bottom a little bit. But again, that's sort of a more advanced technique, I would say, and I doubt that we'll see most drivers employing that one, especially given the draft is so strong. So if you're doing it at the front of the train, there's not really any point because you're pulling everyone along with you.
Yeah. Exactly. And plus, it just makes your car more vulnerable, more volatile if you put a couple of wheels down there. I don't think it's the best of idea, but at the tri-oval, seriously, just somebody has to go 3 wide over there. It's a tradition at Charlotte. People often end up going 3 wide right there through this very section. And look at it already. Look at how close the fastest drivers will run through that blue line right there. You can go below, as Connery mentioned early on, but is it the best idea? Maybe not. But the banking here, very, very steep, Connery. Honestly, running that top line may not be the best idea all the way through. You might just end up losing a little bit pace. Finding the ideal line around here when you're going side by side is such a genuine challenge.
Yeah, it really is. It is a massive, massive issue. And, well, we'll have to get ourselves going here in just a couple of moments' time. Of course, we had a little bit of a delay due to a technical problem, but it's one that we can't resolve with our current capabilities, so we'll have to wait for iRacing to sort that out. But we will know more about that once we get into the qualifying and the race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, our second online oval event. Of course, we did have the Indianapolis Oval during the online races, but that was a little bit of a different beast compared to these high banks, for example, as you can carry a lot more speed in through these corners, and well, little less drafting opportunities in terms of trying to get the passes done. But of course, unlike the offline component that we had just a couple of weeks ago. There won't be any pit stops involved in this one. So it is all just the drivers versus each other out there on circuit.
Exactly. And this can mean you need buddies, you need partners, you need friends to help out with that drafting right here at Charlotte. And you will see that eventually when we get to qualifying. You will see the difference being made in that situation. Right now, many electing to run on their own. And what you're seeing right now could very well be the case in the race if we don't see too many cautions. Big gaps forming out, many drivers just building up that gap over the others. Honestly, it could be mixed bag. It could either be absolutely brilliant in terms of close contact and having some really close finishes, or we could just end up seeing great gaps. But whatever, we've seen both those races all the way through in the season, Connery. At Daytona, it was full of gaps but had a close finish. At Indianapolis, somewhat similar. The main thing was that the ending was always very similar. We almost always have got a photo finish right here.
Yeah, and well, you might see the small technical issue that we've been trying to solve over the past couple of while. We seem to have a bit of a texture bug in iRacing, which means that some of the liveries aren't loading, and we've made sure, we've double-checked and made 100% sure that the files have been named correctly with regards to their driver IDs and some such, but they're just still not showing up. So that's something that we'll have to deal with. But of course, we'll keep you well informed with regards to who is who, if you can't quite see, because there's a whole bunch of white liveried cars, identical cars out there that even don't have the stamped on bits of the car that you would usually see. So in terms of like driver numbers and things like that. So it is an awkward one, but we will have to continue on like this because sometimes we are given a situation where it's we just have to deal with it and put our shades on.
But honestly, I'll tell you what, that contact didn't look cool, but what looks cool is some of those liveries in that black. I think that was the Midas Racing team that we saw in a complete black and white livery, and to be very honest, they look a lot more slick than they did in their gold livery. This just looks, I don't know, this just looks like funky. It's nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it does. As the regular NASCARs that race here, well, they have fake headlights. Is the best way to call it. It's just a livery. It's just a sticker. But these cars, do have to race in pitch black from time to time in the endurance racing world. So they do need to have them on, and it gives a little bit of a unique look here as far as oval racing is concerned. But soon we'll be able to head our way in towards the qualifying session here, as drivers still getting their last little bit to practice in. We've got Junkie Ride at the very top of the timing screens at the moment, sending a pretty good time. We've got Anogen CV, which is the car that we're watching down on the apron at the moment. He's only 12 thousandths of a second behind in practice. Remember, this is practice. So this is just the prelude to what's going to be going on here today. But at the moment, everyone still continuing on. I guess there's not so much practice you can do really at a circuit such as this. So it's kind of a full throttle turn left sort of situation, which is never a guarantee in NASCAR. You don't usually see that unless it's on a super speedway. But here, at least in regular NASCARs, you do have to lift and trail brake a little bit. But in these cars, you can just floor it.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to worry about. All the way through, you can go flat out. You can blast your car all the way through the circuit. All chill, all easy. The fun is practicing when there are people around. That's the thing to practice for. Not how you can go full throttle all the way through. Got to practice for how you can go side by side. And hopefully for Ricardo, who's a race steward, not going 3 wide. That's been something that's been worrying him quite a fair bit today. Yeah. Otherwise, he'd have quite a few decisions to officiate over.
Yeah, it will be. And of course, he'll be a bit trigger happy as far as the yellow flags are concerned as well. At least a little bit more compared to what we're used to seeing. But we're seeing the cars now come out of the pit lane. We've got our 10 minutes of open qualifying about to get itself underway. So here we go, a little bit of a unique sight if you're, if you're anyone in sim racing really. We don't usually see these cars out on an oval event, but that's what this series brings to the table, and let's see how it works out.
Well, the bosses at BMW, well, let's hope that they just get a good idea that oval racing, we might like to see them there as well, because honestly, it's been a fun treat in a way to see the BMW M4 GT3s going out there at Daytona firstly, then at Indianapolis. It's been different, it's been a bit frantic, and I doubt it'll work in real life ever. But I don't mind. I don't mind seeing what happens in a sim. That's the beauty, right? Stuff that we can't quite do in real world. We just end up trying. Like, for instance, someone once on iRacing ended up making a racing championship full of those dirt buggies and racing them at Le Mans. We can do stuff like that. Why not?
Garrod setting the fastest provisional chart time at the moment, but lovely Cha-Cha goes up into the top position with Hitsi now getting herself up into pole position. So Hitsi in the NJC car looking very, very good, at least in the early laps of qualifying here. But remember, she had a bit of draft on those cars ahead of her there, so she's got herself in a good position here for the opening parts of qualifying. That draft is so, so crucial to be able to get yourself a good lap time here. We're seeing the driver of Lux sort of tucked up behind another car here, getting that crucial draft, so I expect this to be decent time.
Exactly. Coming across the line, it's a 32.935. Not good enough any which way for pole position. But Anhojun TV goes up on top with a 32.405. I'm a bit surprised, Connery, that even with this drafting pack, we are seeing gaps of around a tenth of a second between all the drivers all the way through. Where do you find that time?
Yeah, it's a case of just the lap has to come together for you, I think, with the slipstream, the double slipstream, whatever you want to call it. You got to minimize your steering inputs as well, so you make sure that you're not shrugging off too much speed by getting the tires sort of rubbing across the track surface. But there is Lux going to the top of the order, so he was the third car in that three-car train there, or rather four-car train, and he is able to put the lap time in.
Indeed, and Lux goes out there, and what a gap we are getting to see right now. I am loving the closeness. And you know what? Someone special is here on the grid today as well. We've got a new racing team, One Racing, on the grid right now as we see a car flipped around in the background. One Racing have just joined the championship in this round, and their influencer, Soaim, who's a motorsport model, has finally come out there and is able to drive in this series instead of watching it so closely all the way through. So I is in 12th. Not a bad opening effort, I'd say, so far. And we still got 6 odd minutes to go for her.
Okay, so let's see what she's made of. Cross the line. Does not improve on that particular lap, though, so still remains in P12. I noticed Ryusuk was very, very, struggling to get a lap in here in the first couple of minutes of qualifying, but he has done so now. I think it's because he was pressing his nose right up to the back bumper of the car ahead of him, and he was getting like 0 X's off of that, which will invalidate your lap, so you got to be careful.
Maybe not the best of ideas to go bump drafting here at Charlotte. Maybe he just has to play it sane and maintain that very gap right now. Coming across the line, is it anything better? Remember, your best lap time comes after a couple of laps. And indeed, some people going faster. Not Ryusuk, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So qualifying continuing to roll itself around, but you can see it's 0.003 of a second to pole position between Lux and Daeun. And you've also got another couple of hundred thousandths of a second between Daeun and Anagen TV. So it's very, very close to the very top there.
Indeed. And those gaps will only be represented in the race as well. Coming across the line, do we see something special? Desert Eagle, by the way, jumps up from around P number 13 all the way up to P number 7. That's the power of consistent lap times, but still only, what, 0.3 of a second behind Lux? I wonder where you grabbed that sort of time from.
Yeah, well, you just got to get the luck of the draw as far as the drafts, like I said already. Lux setting the fastest time at the moment. 0.003 of a second is behind is Daeun at the moment. So that hasn't really changed over the last couple of minutes, so I have to wonder if there's at least a little bit of wiggle room as far as the times are concerned at the very end of the session. You can see with Onojun at the moment, he is still not got himself a drafting partner ahead of him, which is certainly not helping his case. I doubt he'll be able to set for competitive lap times just running all on his own like this.
He still put it in P number 3 some way, somehow, which is a bit of a miracle in a way. Let's see. I think he's just waiting for somebody to come along so that he can tag in. We see a big cloud of smoke heading into turn number 1. Of course, something has happened right there. Wouldn't be shot at North Carolina without having an incident at turn number 1 in qualifying. But there we go. This is where the pack is. And ideally, this is where Onojun TV has to be to get that better position up in. But there's a risk, Conry. There's a risk. You watch how they're driving and you get a feeling instantly that the things are almost at a limit right here. One tiny error and all those pack of 5-6 cars, they might be disappearing off.
Yeah, indeed, and it's a horrible situation sometimes. As you see the Team BT, or rather the Onojun TV car, well, he's piloted by Onojun TV, he's not a car, but P3 still at the moment. And again, no changes inside of that top 10 for the moment. It's all been stabilized out as drivers try to find those last couple of hundredths of a second, I would say, to get themselves up towards the top of the order. You can see, oh, that's not a great look for Desert Eagle. As he finds a barrier, he finds the pit wall and is now parked out in the grass.
It's one of those things you always wonder can happen in oval racing. Someone making an error and hitting the pit wall. There we go. We've had it once already. How many more times will we see it across the next hour? Ungro Yun right now using the outside line. And what am I interested to see here today? I'm interested to see if they can pull out any side draw from this car on the oval right here. We all know about the vertical one. You can just get something horizontally as there's a spinner.
Ooh.
Again, not one but a couple of them it seems.
Yeah, sometimes hard to catch as well. Here's the DCT racing car, lovely Cha-Cha's. Second in play in championship is that DCT racing car at the moment. It's doing relatively well for itself here in this one. As 108 points, just a couple of points adrift, and sends a car adrift into space, up into the fence there. Not exactly ideal, but remember the towing rules have been changed slightly, I suppose, since the I'll say it for a fact. The towing rules have indeed been changed since the previous round. You now are allowed to tow both in practice and in race, but you still have to make sure that you're in an unrecoverable position here in qualifying to actually go for the tow back to pit lane.
Honestly, that may sound impossible on paper, but we've seen teams and drivers in genuine unrecoverable positions. I think the last time on we were having an oval race, Conry, didn't we see someone launch into the stands or something like that? I think we did. And someone facing upside down as well. There's just madness here in the AMX ESPORTS Championship. Yeah,
and we're winding down to the final moments of the session now, so the drivers have been doing around about 33 second lap times. Yunki Ride up into pole, and what a time to do it as the session's starting to tick down. He did it by 84 thousandths, which is actually quite a large margin compared to the rest of the field. So that is a brilliant lap there from Yunki Ride. He was able to link up, I think, with these three cars and just go for an absolutely blistering lap. Let's see if they're able to make it work again as they head their way across the line. They'll get one more. Kiam also involved in this one as he's looking to the high side. I don't think it'll be his fast lap as a result. And that is going to be it as far as the qualifying session is concerned. So we'll get ourselves swapped on over into the race session. But after qualifying, here is your starting grid for the sprint race here. 15-minute sprint race with Yunki Ride on pole position, with Lux in second place. Dayan in P3 today for Team BS31. Fantastic stuff from the 31. Allergen TV in P4. Sungrayun P5. Keum in P6. Then you have Soy in 7th place. Hitsi in 8th. And Norbao Noja in P9, lovely Cha-Cha P10, Chunil Kang in P11, and the only Desert Eagle in P12 Atlas BX Racing Team. Gian Park for E-Euro in P13, Garrod for PSR in P14, Redcon Motorsports is Lee Americano P15 with Rosuk P16, Seo and Im in P17, our newcomer to the series here today, Mighty Mouth in 18th, and Serai Kim at the very bottom of the order, P number 19 here today. To start the sprint race though, but remember it is a 15-minute sprint race, and then we'll be able to get ourselves transferred over into the feature race where we'll have the top 8 from the results of the sprint race reversed around. So a lot to look forward to here, Sumil, as the drivers will start to grid themselves up behind the pace car.
Indeed, and like the famous pro wrestler Kenny Omega, all our participants can finally claim that they have performed in North Carolina. Well, this is going to be crazy. Full of contact, full of drama, full of action. Just about who can survive. And that reverse grid position, Conray, that is where many may have their eyes on. But talking about the variances, normally, how often do you see Team PS31 anywhere near the top 10? Here, they are in the top 5 in qualifying. Isn't that a good idea of how much the influences can change it on the results? And when you consider that this race has equal points as those with the sim drivers and the real world ones, there's a genuine chance for some big names and some big upsets in terms of the current standings, of course, that happened right here.
Yeah, sort of ample opportunity for things to be shaken up. That's the thing. So we did discuss, even at the very start of the season, how crucial these races are going to be as far as the championship is concerned. And well, potentially it might be here where some of the championships start to turn just that little bit more, especially if Atlas BX can get a good result and DCT fall by the wayside.
That could be a possibility. This time, remember, DCT with the lead car in P number 6. Soyeon Kim behind the wheel of that 11 machine. Lovely Cha-Cha, by the way, in that second car. And the number 12 machine is only in P9. It's a genuine chance for DCT to lose a slight bit of footing. Not too much, but slightly. And considering where we are in the championship, that might be more than enough to kickstart a big recovery drive from all those behind.
Here we go then, we're rolling for the formation lap here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the second online oval event, the second online influencer race here in the AMX Esports Championship for 2021. They're heading their way through NASCAR's turn 1 and 2 now. Down the back straight they come. And of course, it's worth reminding everyone of the rules every time. It is go on green here, so you can't time the start as the leader, as some drivers would like to do here in this particular style of racing. But it's a Yunki Ride on pole position. Number 99 on his outside, coming towards the start here. What are the odds on a quick caution, Sumil?
I think, I don't know, 80%? Maybe? Let's give it a try. I think it's bound to happen.
Let's have a look then. The influencer rounds of the AMX Esports Championship about to get itself underway for the second time this season. Pace car down onto pit lane. Yunki Ride will bring them to the green flag here today. It is a very long hold until the green here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but we're green flag racing at the home of NASCAR. And here we go. It is Yunki Ride getting away with a jump at the front of the field, but Dayan dropping back through the order a little bit. Anujan improving a couple of positions. He's up into second.
Midas Racing having a bad start right there. Not what they needed when you consider that they've got some major points to recover in the championship. Already we're seeing a dive. Already Anho Jun TV bringing the intensity.
He is. He wants to go. He wants to go for the race lead already. As you can see, the field is sort of swarming out behind them as Anujan, again, now has to try and think about Kiam as Kiam tries to work their way around the outside through NASCAR turns 1 and 2. But Yunki Ride and Anujan just nailed towards that white line.
So far, so good. That caution meter has dipped down and things are getting cleaner. Soy, by the way, for DCT Racing has lost a couple of positions. DCT are having a hard time, Connery. Their positions P9, 12 and 13.
Oh, spin down onto the tri-oval. A couple of drivers heading their way down. That is Norbao Norja for the Solar Indigo Racing car. We had Midas Racing also involved in that one, by the way, as Solar Indigo Racing continuing to go backwards on the racing surface, which is not where you want to be.
But thankfully getting back into the grass and things should be okay without a caution. Here's a quick look at the incident again. Norabu Norja, I think that's where he went wrong. He was diving a bit too frantically, Connery, from the outside all the way to the inside. I said I hope they hadn't seen those clips where the drivers just change lines like a snake and end up making those positions. That does not work. Here is why.
So let's have a look back at the front of the order here in the sprint race. Yunki Ride leads from Anujan, from Dayan. Dayan just sitting there. She lost a spot on the start, I believe, and now she's just sort of settled herself into that third spot for the moment. So pretty good going. It's going to require a very calm drive in that position to try and capitalize. But due to the incident, we are coming up on lapped traffic at this point already due to the problems that we had. So so that's going to be the first little thing that all of these drivers have to deal with as Yunki Ride still holds on to that front spot. And I think it's going to be very tough for Anujan to really do anything about this. He needs to time the run and get the possibly side draft to try and get by.
Well, there's a case of waiting and watching, making sure that all the guys from behind are getting a good run so that you can time into perfection and close down that gap. On the outside, though, there is some battling happening in the background.
Okay.
I think that would be... that is the Ulsandia Motorsport KM right there. And remember how good Ulsandia were last time out of Laguna Seca. A real star performer. It could be 2-2 for them now.
It could well be. Now, heading into NASCAR Turn 3, Dayan commits a little bit too much, washes up the circuit. KM has to lift out of that one. And now it'll have to be side by side for both P3 and P1 at the moment because the lap traffic is causing all sorts of problems.
Things are getting rather spicy right here. Yunki Ride with a nose ahead only by just... Here we go, Connery. At last, 3 wide at Charlotte.
Anujan slots through into the race lead. Yunki Ride trapped on the outside due to a little bit of lap traffic hogging that inside, and he has to slot back third in line, but still second in terms of position. He's flashing the lights. He's frustrated that that car's getting in the way.
And the 31 machine of Dayan, just look at this. Look at the intensity. Look at how loose Dayan got right there.
Yeah.
This could have been absolutely terrible for him.
Yeah, well, Dayan is in fact a woman, so we should
I'm
use
so
the correct
sorry.
pronouns.
I end up making this mistake all the time. For them, should be doing better at this.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. There's 10 minutes, 30 seconds left to go in the event, and the intensity high as ever at the very front of the field. You can see Dayan trying to deal with the lap traffic at the moment. She's not having the best time of it. She's got KM just sort of hounding it down from behind, trying that high line to try and get the momentum off. If you're unfamiliar with NASCAR oval racing, then you might not know that due to the track being higher on the outside there, you can get the run down the hill as the track levels itself out to give you a bit of a speed boost.
And that can also be a bit of a downside if your car ends up being a bit too loose. You've got to work it to perfection right here. Look at this. Dayan again going for a send. Dayan, I wonder what that style is all about. Dayan seriously is just looking so frantic with that machine. It's like she just wants the positions right here, right now. It's amazingly entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it really is, as they're heading their way into NASCAR Turn 3 now. As again, flashing of the lights, well, it is okay to do, as we'll get ourselves... we got a little bit tight and a little bit of contact here and there. Careful with the bump drafting, everyone. It can end in tears.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. It's like this race is happening at 1,000 miles per hour because that is how twitchy all these drivers are getting at the back.
Whoa.
KM and Dayan, they make contact and it's again ending in the worst possible way.
Dayan in the wall for Team PS31. We saw how aggressive she was being with the traffic. She really didn't want to be in that position, but now she's been cycled towards the very rear end of the field. There's a little bit of contact even before we got to the replay there. There's the lap traffic on the inside there, and you can just see just a bit of dooring there. Car returning to the circuit. There's a coming together. And a heavy impact with the wall for Dayan, but fortunately damage disabled.
Fortunately damage disabled, but how quickly can Dayan make a comeback? Team PS31, 14th in the championship heading into this round. They needed this one bad. P8 might just be a good recovery. Maybe, it will give them pole position for the reverse grid race right here. But Ulsandir and Yunki Ride, well, they are having quite the fight right now.
Quite the scrap. KM, well, he was on the tail end of the leading pack that entire time. Now he's trying to make his forward progress, especially with Dayan out of the equation. So now looking at those cars ahead, trying to figure out where he's going to fit his way through, because we've been figuring out it's pretty tough to try and get those passes done here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It requires, maybe a little bit of help, from bits of lap traffic, unless these drivers are just keeping their cards tight to their chest at the moment, and they'll have more to show for it in the last couple of laps.
Wait, so you're telling me there's a multi-layered battle going on right here? I would love to see stuff like that in the influencer race. Normally just end up seeing them going flat out, but if that's the case, I've got hooked. I am all in for it. Yunki Ride right now, Connery. It's that tri-oval section. I don't know whether they actually make those marginal steering movements or it's just the way the circuit is designed. Whatever it is, it looks stunning, and this doesn't.
Oh. Ryosuk, big impact. And traffic coming as well certainly didn't help the situation. We still have no yellow. We can technically do it, given that we are outside of 5 minutes before the end of the event here. But what happened to Ryosuk? Is it just a simple case of getting into the back? No, he goes to the inside. And, well, that's Ryosuk getting himself spun around by a car behind there. Couldn't quite tell who that was, given, of course, we've been having the texture issue here today. But yeah, that is unfortunate. Still green, though, and we still got time to get a yellow.
Yeah, it could very well be. We don't want to see it ending under that caution, though. And see, that is good racing by the lap car right there. Not getting in the way, clearly just being predictable and holding the outside line. Now take a look at this one. They could be going 4 wide. They could make contact. They do make contact. Again. Oh.
Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Continuing on, though. You're still having to continue with this fight. Still 6 minutes left remaining in this event now. And, well, we'll have to watch and wait this one through. There's going to be a lot of work for the stewards to do at the very end of this race. I get the feeling. But at this point, we are getting towards that very crucial 5 minutes to go. Because it is the case of the fact that the safety car can't come out with that close to the end of the race. I will get my words in the right order at some point, everyone. As currently, it's Anagen TV leading from Yuki Ride from now Soy, but Soy is not involved in this pack that you see on screen right now. She's sort of a little bit further back by about 5 seconds. So it's basically Anagen and Yunki Ride in amongst 3 pieces of lap traffic here at the moment.
Exactly. And lap traffic is not obliged to move out of the way. Lap traffic will stay where they are. Ideally, they shouldn't, but that's not the case right here in oval races. Look at the run, though. Yunki Ride with a stunning run right there. It could materialize into something special, but thankfully they hold on. But a quick look at the DCTE racing cars, Conrad. All of them P3, P4, P5 and away from the drama. I don't know what they do, man. All the time, whether it be with the sim drivers, with the influencers, they just find themselves in the perfect slot. And the reason why I say perfect is now because in the next main race, they'll have to pass less cars to get that win, and the points count more over there.
Here we go, Yunkey Rai to the outside, can't get anything done, and I think this piece of lap traffic ahead is really helping Anujan at the moment. He's just able to park inside the slipstream here and get the top straight line speed, and Yunkey Rai, as soon as he pulls out towards that outside line, he can't do anything. The run just stalls out. These cars just have too much downforce. They're too draggy compared to the NASCARs, and they can't make progress there.
Really can't, and that's what's holding them back in a situation like this one. And for Yunkey Rai, look at this. I have a bad feeling about this. This could just end up in tears for everyone involved. Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that at all. And Yunkey Rai right now, Conry, again you see, making contact with the lapped car. Oh, come on.
Yunkey Rai goes for the spin into the infield, and well, we'll wind it back to see exactly what the situation was between the two of those, as it was lapped car on the inside. Does Yunkey Rai come down? Does the lapped car come up? And I believe from that view, it was the lapped car coming up, unfortunately for Yunkey Rai.
Well, dare I say this, he's gone for a bit of a Yunkey Rai right there.
But yeah, we are now 3 minutes left to go in this one. Anujan has a massive lead now. He has 4.5 seconds over Soy. So Anujan potentially grabbing the win in the sprint race, at least, for that Solite Indigo Performance 87 car. But I would say don't count your chickens until they've hatched, because there's lapped cars has been a very big factor in this race so far, and there's no reason why they can't be a factor again. Meanwhile, battle for second place here between Soy and Lovely Chacha is a battle between the two teammates from DCT. And how many times have we seen this season between the two? Well, they're supposed to be red cars, but one of them's white for the purposes of this race.
Oh yeah, we've seen it every time, and it blew up big time at Spa when the DCT 11 and the 12 machine made contact right there, and they made that gap for themselves. We take a look at the move here. Chacha going up ahead and getting a good run. That was, well, lovely.
I think there might be something more in that. That was just Lovely Chacha just breezing by on Soy, and Soy, Soy's put down towards the pit lane. She's got a drive-through penalty.
Oh my, that's why. And the DCT Dream Race has just gone for a toss now.
It has. They were looking so good, and now, well, at least DCT Racing is down on towards the pit lane. They actually stop in the box as well, which is not what you do when you're serving a drive-through penalty. You just need to drive all the way through. You don't need to stop, and if you stop, well, that will give you an unserved drive-through penalty, which is, well, in worst case, disqualification. But let's have a look then, as we'll get ourselves, there's the race leader, still involved in that traffic, and this must be such a sketchy situation right now for Anujan, because he's in and amongst a bunch of cars that have nothing to do with him, and he's hoping and praying they don't cause him a problem.
Exactly, in this case, there is a problem, and Anujan escapes by the skin of his teeth here.
Oof. That's the last thing he needed to see ahead of him. Just some lap traffic getting in with each other, and well, potentially putting his race at risk. But now it's going to be just one more lap to go. There's a battle for 6th place between Hitsi. Oh, it wasn't a battle. It was a spin for Garrod. That puts that PSR car down on the apron.
But it puts the PSR car in the best position. Be it. No! They make contact again, and there goes reverse grid pole, and there goes someone else's front bumper as well.
Oh my word, but here we go. Here's the confirmation of the final lap. Here's the confirmation of your race winner of what has been a very hectic sprint race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He will come down the back straight now just, well, technically in American terms, 2 corners to go, even though we mostly see it as one, through NASCAR turns 3 and 4 for the final time in the sprint race. It is Anajan TV from Seoul Indigo Performance. Number 87 wins the sprint race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Who comes third, though, because that's getting close at the line. It's Yoonki Ride salvaging a podium.
That was quite something right there by Yoonki right towards the end. Considering all that's happened, that can be classified as quite a decent result. But Sierra Kim, Conry, in the number 50 machine, they had reverse pole in their hands until chaos took it away from them. So are they the real winners here, or are they losers in a way?
I would say losing reverse grip pole position potentially important here, because we saw how hard it was for cars to pass the front car in the leading train. So let's take a look then at your results from your provisional results from the sprint race. Anajan TV P1, Lovely Chacha P2, Yoonki Rai P3. That's your podium. So Indigo Performance, Solar Indigo Performance, DCTE Racing, Quadro Iran Racing Team. 3 different teams on the podium this time around, and well, 5 different teams inside of the top 5, and well, I guess 10 different teams inside the top 10. I'm not seeing any repeats there. But Sungro Young, sorry, Kim Hitsi Taeyan, Royal Kim Soa Im. Great debut performance there in P10. Then we've got Redcon Motorsports, Lee Americano P11, Team PSR in P12, DL Mighty in P13, minus P14, DCT Esports P15, Euro P16, DCT Racing P17 with Soy, and then we have Norbao Norja Solar Indigo Racing number 97 in P18, and then Desert Eagle P19. He was 24 laps down. So, we have a little bit of a warm-up. We might even have a little bit of a abbreviated warm-up here. And before we get ourselves going and racing here in the into the feature race, as my words are not coming to me today. I do apologize. But, yeah, what chaos in that sprint race there, Sumil.
Seriously chaotic right there. And to think that it's only just a starter in the case of a meal, the main course is still yet to arrive. It just fills me up with more excitement, this one. And what would be a good dessert, a good conclusion to the entire race weekend would be a clean battle at the very end. Just try and had to eventually. We are going to see some photo finishes, and that would be as good as a nice pastry at the very end, I suppose so.
All this talk of food is just making me hungry, because I haven't had breakfast. So and it's lunchtime now, so I technically should be having my lunch now. So yeah, it's thanks for that, Sumil. I really appreciate it. And but of course, with the couple of minutes that we have to until the race, until the feature race here. Again, it's just like we saw, at least we discussed before that sprint race. It's a bit of a wild card situation. It's a bit of a sort of keep yourself out of trouble and you'll do well. And I think it was really exemplified to us here today in that sprint race. It could potentially carry on into the feature race. But one thing I do want to mention is that we haven't had a caution yet. Yeah,
and that could very well change right here. Well, how do you stay out of trouble? I mean, how do you do it? What's the mantra for that? There really is just luck and just being at the right place at the right time. I mean, in that case, we almost saw a race winner right there for Solar Indigo Performance. He got taken out almost by that lap car right there, surrounded by 3 different lap machines. What can you do? Can you flash your lights? Can you ask race control? You can't do stuff like that. They won't move out of the way. So you literally, in a way, are so dependent on external factors right here in a race like this one, which often makes it such a fun watch, but for the drivers can be so frustrating that not many things are in their control in a situation like this.
Yeah, and that's one of the tougher races to be in, because a large part of your performance today is not going to be based on how you drive necessarily. And that's the scary point, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like you have to be relying on everyone else, and you're relying on that little bit of luck to try and get you through. And that's what makes these particular events so intriguing, because they're worth the same as any other race in the championship. So it's again, it's just that unknown element, I suppose, being added to the championship that spices it up a little.
I mean, in a way, many might look at it on paper and say, well, the only reason why influencers are on ovals is to protect them from the chaos of road courses. Protect what? Chaos? Are you kidding me? This is where the real chaos is. I wouldn't say that it's a move to protect anybody. It's just trying to test a new skill, a different sort of racing that we normally won't end up seeing with the sim drivers and the real world drivers. We have in some cases, but not often. And this is entertaining. Say what you want to. It gets you on the edge of your seat. Seeing those sort of four wide battles right there, then you add a lap car into the mix as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am quite liking this one. It'll be made better with the clean fight at the end. And what we saw right now, Conray, was maybe just a slight chink in DCT's armor. They at one point had, I think, 3 cars in the top 10, and a couple of them were in P4 and P5. Now that's not there. How can they fight back in a situation like this?
Well, we won't have to wait too long to try and find out, as we'll get the feature race started here in just a couple of moments' time. But before we do so, we'll take you through the starting grid for the feature event here today, and it looks a little bit like this. Ryo-Suk gets himself up onto pole position due to the reverse grids today. Daeun in second place on that front row. Let's see what she can do from that position. Hitsi there from NJC in third place, with Serai Kim in fourth, Sungro Yun in fifth for Team PTC, and then Quadro E-Rain Racing Teams at Yunki Ride in P6 here today. Then you see the front two from the sprint race. Lovely Cha-Cha for DCTE Racing P7 to start. Anujan as your race winner. He will start in 8th place. Keum in 9th place today to start the sprint race, to start the main race, excuse me, for Ulsan DR Motorsports. Then Soa Im in P number 10 today for One Racing as your new team coming in to the championship for this event. Redcon Motorsports Lee Americano in P11 with Garrod for PSR in P12. Mighty Mouth DR Mighty P13. Lux for Midas Racing in 14th. Channel Kang in P15. Jeon Park in P16. Soy in 17th place. Norbao Norja in P18. And Desert Eagle for Atlas BXE Racing Team down there in P number 19. So, drivers taking themselves to the starting grid. Well, it's not really a starting grid, but lining up behind the pace car once again. And, preparing themselves for another 30 minutes of whatever the sprint race was.
Indeed. Will we get to see double the action, double the chaos? Well, the points, they certainly are awarded more in this feature race. The stakes are higher. Maybe the evening here at Charlotte, but the drivers can feel the heat. Imagine if you're someone like Arno Jun TV for Solar Indigo Racing. They haven't had the best of years so far. A mega performance here, just like in the sprint race, can elevate them right up to around the top 5. That can be a major win for them. What about Atlas BX? Can they finally maybe get the compass and get the direction to their season that they really want to in this case? Could be a big shout here for them.
Time has expired on the gridding procedure. You'll see that pace car roll off and away, and then the cars in close tow. Ryo-Suk, he needs to get a move on here. There we go. I don't think he realized the pace car had went, so now he has to go. And Daeun has to do the same as well. Come on, everyone. We got to go. We got to hang around here as it causes a little bit of confusion behind. It was mentioned in the driver's briefing, this whole lineup procedure is a little bit different to what the drivers are used to, so you do have to be a little careful in regards to that. But drivers working their way up towards the pace car now, and soon will be formed up correctly, I would have hoped.
And yeah, that might take a second or two. It's a bit like students early in the morning when they realize that their bus has missed, and it's a group of 5, 6, 7 of them are rushing towards it as they can see it go past. Finally, they have caught up. Finally, they have made their way in. Now, can they just I'm joining my hands as I say this. Can they just keep it clean at turn number 1? They did the last time out, but it only took 1 lap until we had pandemonium. What's your guess on this one, Conray? Maybe lap 2 this time out, perhaps?
I don't want to put a number on it. That's all I'll say. I don't want to put a number on it because the laps do come by thick and fast here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we'll start to see it in action here now. The feature race here for the AMX Esports Championship at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The influencer feature event is underway as Ryusuk brings them to the green flag, and we're racing once again at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But who's that coming up through the middle? That was insane. That was Anujan. Anujan and OD on a hit seat. They tangle coming through NASCAR turn 1 and 2, and it causes a big wreck behind.
Everyone is seeing their race disappear in a cloud of smoke. And finally, we have what we needed, a caution. Just be cautious, guys. That's what the whole idea is right here. And so many converting Charlotte, again, as I mentioned earlier in the season as well, into an airport now.
First yellow flag of the day. Let's see what caused it. That was the back end of the incident, but let's have a look at it in its completion. This is Hitsy looking down the inside here, and the car on the outside just cuts across. You gotta always leave the space, as many a famous racing driver has said. Not so, and also I guess sim drivers and everyone else as well. But that's not how you try and defend the position there. And Hitsy is quite right to be hard done by that situation. But at least she didn't get spun by all the way around. Just had that big slide towards the inside. She still remains in P5.
Well, it's a good way to defend if you're racing in a demolition derby, but this isn't a demolition derby, so that isn't the way it works out right there. But Anahojan TV, look at where they have dropped. 16th position from P number 8. Now, damages... pit lane, exactly. Oh, they've gone for a stop, which is a bit strange considering damages are off. So why bother?
Oh, was it jump start?
Okay.
Because I want to watch this on the replay here. Let me see if I can get it all the way back to the start here. Here's Anajan TV. You cannot pass on the inside of your lane before the start finish line, and he might have.
He did
there. We'll
he accelerated way past here. You can see it from this onboard now.
This is I'm going to say the Anajan. This is not Anajan. This is Anajan right here. So let's take a look then. Remember, before the start finish line, can't pass on the inside.
Speaking of which,
passes like 5 cars on the inside.
Exactly. Craziness, serious craziness right there. Maybe he didn't get the brief that he can't quite do that. I don't know. Sounds a bit absurd to do all that stuff, but hey, what helps Anujan right now is that there is a caution. We can only focus on the good. Whatever has happened has happened. For them, they have time on their side, they've got raw pace on their side, and everyone is bunched up. What's happening here, though?
Just a bit of lap traffic, I think. That's sort of gotten themselves stuck in amongst the leaders here. The pace car rules is single file maintain. So if you're ahead of the leader, then on this lap here, you will be able to get yourself unlapped. But if you're not ahead of the leader, then you will... we're going to go for another caution lap here, by the way. So we'll watch this one run through. Because typically the caution lap shouldn't go this long, but I think someone might be out of position, which is why it's ticking over just that little bit longer.
We've got to wait and watch, but again, the trick is the same. Stay out of trouble. There was an attempt to go. Again, it reminds me of that subreddit called There Was an Attempt. There was an attempt for an audacious move at turn number 1. And just like all the memes in that subreddit, things did not end well.
Yeah, it really didn't. But pace car light's still on here, so we'll be pacing for the next couple more moments here as the field just sort of gets itself sorted out. And I'm hoping that it isn't that lapped car that's at the very front of the train kind of messing things up for everyone at the moment. But we'll just have to wait and see, and then we'll be able to get going here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But But yeah, it gives the drivers a chance to calm down at least a little bit here. So.
You reckon they will be calmer on this restart? I don't think so. I think they're going to go even more frantic now, knowing that time is less. And well, some of them have a lot of positions to gain, such as on Hojin TV.
So Ryo Suk trying to frantically flash at the lap car. We'll have to see what the situation is here, as we'll get ourselves sorted now. If we can see the lights on the pace car, that would be fantastic. But the view is not giving me that at the moment, so that is unfortunate. As there we go. Lapped car has been released. We're 1 to green.
Well, hey, this is where the fun begins. You can hear the low bellow of all the V8s inside the M4 GT3s. It's just representing all the excitement. The goosebumps will be building up when we get to the start if we get some clean, crazy racing. Cloudy with a chance of contact here today. That's the weather forecast.
Yeah, I think you're going to be absolutely right. But Ryo Suk currently in the best seat in the house at the moment, especially considering the fact that we can... what's this? What's this? You're not allowed to do that, mate. You're going to have to drop back in line. You can't. When it says pass one car, it doesn't say pass all the cars. So he's going to have to try and get himself back in line here. Otherwise, we'll have to delay the green once more and hope no one gets a penalty if in the case that we do go green. But yeah, it is sometimes misleading when it shows the green arrows to you and it says, oh, you can pass the car. And it's just like, beware, it's past the single car, not all of them. But pace car down on towards the pit lane after a bit of an extended yellow flag period. Here we're about to get the race started once again. Here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we are underway here at the Hoa NASCAR. Ryo Suk in front with Kayum now looking for second place over Serai Kim.
Clean, clear and confident from everyone. Here comes the DCT machine. Lovely Cha-Cha with the run of her life right now. Getting one down the inside of Grid Motorsport. And is it good enough? Of course it is. That is stunning. Well, what are Grid Motorsport doing right there?
Let's have a look then, because that wasn't exactly ideal for them. Let's see if they're having a little bit of trouble here at the moment. Sarah Kim getting out. Why is he going that wide? You're just inviting the dive down the inside there. Oh, you got to be so careful.
Ooh.
Almost washes up the circuit there. Garrod setting the fastest lap time of anyone so far in this event. He currently resides in 7th place at the moment, as you can see that the Grid Motorsports... I'm not sure, because you would have thought hold the bottom, hold position. They're just hanging around the outside for seemingly no apparent reason.
It seems to be a deliberate ploy of sorts. They were maybe trying to go to the outside line and maybe trying to get that better run of turns 2 and turn number 4. Can work sometimes, but it can't be on the outside all the time. That was the real catch right there. And lovely Cha-Cha has just made her way up. Look at this. Cha-Cha looking for something, and there's a spinning car in the background. Of course there is. Are we getting our second caution?
We are.
Mighty DR hit out.
Midas racing out, well, not out, because damage off, but involved, I will say, as we'll get ourselves the replay up and see exactly what happened in this little group of 3 that we have going on back. Here's that Team PTC car that's going to get into their rear. It looks like, and yeah, that is, well, the initial instant, of course, car on the inside, sticking where it's nose in where it shouldn't belong, but I think it's convenient there for the 99 to come back across the track and swipe him out. You know, it's a loss of control. You can say, oh, I just lost control of the car, it's fine. Yeah, maybe a little bit more than that, but second yellow of the day, second yellow of the race.
What is that? I saw a couple of BTC cars right there. DCT, I'm sorry. But again, one might wonder, what does BTC stand for? And in that case, maybe just beating the other car. And that's what happened eventually, unfortunately, for them. Instant karma in a way that they got tagged back in. But mistakes happen. Mistakes happen. It's only racing when you're going so fast. Those marginal decisions can be so crazy, so frantic, so you can't quite put a real big finger. And plus, the influencers are here to have fun. They're here to enjoy a little bit. So let's not get overcritical. That's a message to myself. I was the one who was getting too critical right there. But we can only hope. We can only hope that this start is going to be better. Arjun TV, by the way, though, not getting anything on their side. 2 cautions in, their position hasn't improved, it's only worsened.
Thing is, this is a slight blessing in disguise, though. I would guess, because Arjun TV, as is the rules on ovals, you cannot serve your black flag or your drive-through penalty or whatever during a safety car period. So that's what Arjun would have gotten. He would have gotten some form of stop and hold penalty after the initial start, where he completely jumped everyone illegally. He would have had to serve that under green flag conditions. He tried to serve it under yellow. I did spot him come down on towards the pit lane and try and serve it under yellow, but of course that's not possible. He's come down in a second time now. I can see 2 pits on his on the timing screen here. So he has come down in since to get that 30-second stop and hold, and now he's back out there. So for Anujan, this is now maybe looking just a little bit better. Still lap down on everyone, and he won't be able to improve it on that lap down because he's not at the front of the train. However, it's less bad than it otherwise would be.
Could be worse. Could be worse in the situation. And when you take a look at all that's been happening at the top of the field, I wouldn't mind being right there with 20 minutes to go. People will take themselves out in a situation like this. You've just got to bank on consistent small gains in situations like this one. Now that the penalty is off, now that they've gotten rid of all the weight on their shoulders, they can now look to just sort of build their muscles in a situation like this. Build some more position, build some more ground. And now is the time to do just that. Mighty Mouse in the middle, though, they just haven't been able to capitalize on anything. I thought we saw them in that accident early on. Luckily for them, not involved, but still, I thought we could have seen more from them here today.
Yeah, and well, there they are. Mighty Mouth. Yeah. I mean, still plenty of time left in this race, though. Like this race has basically only had only a handful of green flag laps under our belt. So we're not in the full swing of the race just yet. But what we are doing is winding down the clock, though. So there won't be that many green flag laps to run here at the very end. We're almost at a sprint race distance here in just a couple of moments' time. So yeah, that's what the drivers are having in mind right now. It's just like, okay, more time behind the safety car, more time that I could have been using trying to improve position, get up there, get into those podium spots. But now we're rolling around all in single file line like this, not able to do anything about it until the signal is given by the lights extinguishing on top of that pace car to dictate the 1 to go signal. Will we get this time? Let's have a look.
The interesting thing is, as you rightly mentioned, we're not cutting down laps here. We're cutting on time. And that could be the major factor. Had we been cutting down on laps, this race, well, still would have been longer. We'd have more time. But now, well, how long is each lap right here at Charlotte? Barely anything, right? Only 30-odd seconds. Every caution is cutting out so many more laps than it normally would in a situation like this. It's just taking so much out, and it's reducing the opportunities of so many good teams and drivers who are stuck in the back because of incidents that they've been faced in.
We do have the 1 to go signal confirmed, though. So we will be going green this time around again for the 3rd time running. Ryusuk will bring them to the green flag. And hopefully everyone is able to get this race restarted in an orderly fashion. That's the way we would like to do it. Ryusuk, though, conscious of the fact that 999 behind him, KM, has been so aggressive, not just here in the main race, but in the sprint race as well. Pretty spicy.
Exactly. And the 999 has a lot to fight for. Ulsan Dia were the star performers in terms of those who haven't been having the best of seasons the last time at Laguna Seca. It's not as undulating, it's not as much of a driver challenge, but mentally, Charlotte can get you. Is this a situation that favors them now?
We're ready to restart the race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Green flag is out. We're racing again in the BMW M4 GT3 machines here on the high banks. And away we go. A little bit of a calm affair at the very front. Not too many dramas. A little bit of side-by-side further back through the field. This is Garrod, I believe it is, trying to get all over the back of Hitsi there. not able to be quite successful, though, as they continue in their single file running all the way down the max straight. A little bit of a calmer affair this time around. I think the drivers are sort of woken up to the fact that they can't keep continuing on doing the recce wreck for the remaining 15 minutes of this race.
Exactly, but the action still very, very crazy at the very top. Lovely Cha-Cha is behind right there. Ulsan Dia and Sarah Kim getting a bit too close in a situation like this one. For Rösik, just hold on and make sure that the others don't get the draft. Even with the draft, Conray, the run is seemingly not good enough for anyone.
Lovely Cha-Cha losing P4 there to Sarai Kim as Kim tries to make some progress around the outside. What's happened to Hitzi? Hitzi's down towards the pit lane, and that was a drive-through penalty.
There we go. There's been a few of them here today so far. And Team NJC unfortunately just have been in the thick of drive-through penalties all the way through the season. Wow, lovely Cha-Cha making contact. She stepped down from P4 to P number 7 in a matter of seconds.
Car trying to pass on the apron, though. That's illegal in this series. And she takes out a couple of cars. That was Dayan. That is now an absolutely reckless incident, at least as far as I'm concerned. She went down onto the apron, came all the way back up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a very harsh punishment.
That was ridiculously hard, the impact. In the real world, somebody might have had a critical head injury had something like this happen. And why? Why bother passing down from the apron? Why do that? I'm a bit lost for words in this. And Team Mighty Mouth might be robbed. They might be feeling absolutely gutted in a situation like this. Even more so when we don't have a caution. What did they do wrong? Stay right there?
Yeah, it's so unfortunate to be the car that's or the cars that are the innocent parties in that situation. Driver just completely disregarding the defined track limits and just blowing their way through the corner. That's not how we would like to race here. 13 minutes to go, though, in the feature race of the AMX Esports Championship at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The influencers trying to give us a show here. They have in a few ways. But KM at the moment, his eyes are set on the prize. He's watching, waiting, planning his move for the race lead.
And that is so critical. Got to watch what your opponent is doing, where they are strong, what part of the circuit are they very good at. More importantly in this, being aware of where you get the best runs and planning your moves accordingly. There is some smart defending by Ryosuke. He saw that KM would get a good run off the tri-oval and smartly became proactive and blocked off that line. That is why he's leading so far. With only 12 minutes to go, keeping this up might just get him the big one.
Yeah, but there are lots of cars behind. Remember this situation in race 1, or rather sprint race. Most of these cars would have been lapped cars, but no, all these cars are battles for position here. So Ryosuk, KM, Garrod, Yunki Ride, Serai Kim, Lee Americano, all involved in this one, all looking to try and improve positions. Yunki Ride trying to challenge for P3. And, well, he's got it done! Oh, someone goes for a big slide. And have they saved it? No. As who's that? That is going to be Serai Kim going for a big spin.
And Serai Kim was looking so confident around the outside all the time in that Grit Motorsport car. And the luck has just worn out for Serai right now. Quick look at all that's happening. That right there is Team BTC on the outside line right here. Just feels painful to watch it as it happens. There's contact. What can you do about it? Nothing.
Just try and pick a direction and hope and pray. That's what you do in that situation. There's no logic in it. You just have to make a choice, and sometimes it's the right choice, sometimes it's very much the wrong choice, and it's the wrong choice this time around for Serai Kim. Still in 10th place though, so still holding on to that top 10 position, but from what was it was basically 7-8 car train for the race lead has now been reduced to 3. Ryusuk, KM, and Garrod. That is your trio at the very front at the moment. It is, of course, representatives from 3 different teams as well. And how about that? Atlas BX Esports team lead with Ulsandiar Motorsports in second and, well, Garrod in third. And it turns out that third car in line in that leading trio is not, in fact, part of the battle. That is a lapped car. So, for all intents and purposes, it's a two-car tango at the front, at least in terms of position.
Well, that's been the trend of every single oval race so far in the AMX Esports Championship, hasn't it been? Just having a couple of cars right there at the very top with very minimal gaps between them, but they have a lapped car in the mix. That's what we've been constantly seeing. That's what we predicted so far. It's just a matter of who can hold the nerve and, more importantly, plan the right move towards the final lap.
The Americano coming down on towards the pit lane, and is this a drive-through? I am not sure, because it hasn't come through on my screen, but it might have been due to incident points, which is one of the possibilities. But yeah, that's, again, something that we didn't expect to see. So another driver drops out of the top 10 potentially, as we continue to see Ryosuk and KM sort out their differences here. They haven't been going too aggressive just yet, but talk to me in 9 minutes' time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way this championship is going all the way around. Can't tell, can't predict anything at this stage. I mean, if you told me the lovely Chacha right now could go in and win by 5 seconds, I wouldn't disagree. It can really happen. It's been that sort of championship so far.
It really has. There is definitely a possibility that Ryosuk and KM could come together in their battle for the race lead, and all of a sudden it might be Garrod who wins, or it might be lovely Chacha who wins at DCT Racing, or even if they all get involved in it, maybe Yunki Ryan. Oh, there is an instant for the race lead. Ryosuk's around. KM still maintains the race lead, but a big bit of contact at the start-finish line that's taken out multiple drivers, and we get our third yellow flag.
Absolute madness everywhere. What in the world was that? I am absolutely clueless. It's taken out so many big names. Ryosuk, lovely Cha-Cha. We've got other drivers as well involved in the mix. I don't even know how many of them so far. But here's that replay. What's happening? Oh no, I just can't watch it with a straight face. Ryosuk getting involved with lap traffic, yeah.
Lap traffic thought they were doing the right thing. Very much not. You have to be predictable as lap traffic. Let's see Ryosuk's view of it. Ryosuk has maintained third, by the way, so it isn't a massive loss, but you can see the lap traffic ahead. You can see Ryosuk's even flashing the lights, saying, hey, I'm here. Just be predictable and going to the inside and slowing down. That's not the way you let people by. Just go a consistent speed. And if you're causing them a nuisance, just then lift out once you're clear of danger from behind. Don't do what they did there and slow on the race on what is basically the racing line.
Well, let's look at the good. It's good lessons for everyone watching on what not to do when we eventually end up racing. We all know how attractive of a server and how attractive of a service iRacing is for everyone watching. And everyone would like to just get a sim, go racing. And if you do that, that's a good reminder of what not to do with lapped cars. Even if you're road racing or you're oval racing, that's just that. Let's not bust our brains wondering more about, oh, why did this happen? How did this happen? We've seen it. There's not much more to say about that. What we can say, Conry, is that with this winner, if it stands this way, if it is what it is right now, Ulsan Dia are taking a mighty swing into DCT E-Racing and Atlas BX right now, if it stays this way.
There's KM. He had nothing to do with that. He managed to pick his way through on all of that. In fact, I'm tempted to try and go back and try and find his view of it.
Yeah. On more of the season, I think it'll make for quite a compilation, because we've seen accidents like this aplenty. They look like, it may seem that the IndyCar onboards are docile when we compare to this.
Let's see what KM saw. Sees the flashing of the lights.
Oh, that got close.
Multiple drivers behind got caught up in that, by the way, as well. So it wasn't just Ryosek's incident. It was lots of people coming in hot into that got caught up in it.
Well, well, well. What have we not seen here today? We have not seen... I think let's make a wish list. The BMW flipped upside on the top of its roof. We've seen one taking off into orbit, maybe with a few boosters behind, but not that. What we haven't seen is 5 laps of consistent hard racing. That is what I want to see. With only, I think, around 4 odd minutes once we go green again, I think that is a real possibility, or is it?
We'll see. We'll see how many laps we get.
Well then, 4.5 minutes to go. The scene is set for a mega finish right here. As we see Ryosek getting himself lapped in, if I'm not mistaken. I think that would be the case right here, right now. But honestly, it's been a narrative-filled race weekend. In terms of championship standings, we could have some big winners and big losers. And let's just look at it in the way of the top battle. The battle between DCT Racing and DCT Racing right now. And it is a big one in favor of DCT Esports. The number 12 have one car in the top 5. Their biggest inter-team rivals, Seoul Kim in P9.
We got a grandstand finish. We got a sprint to the line here. Pace car lights are out, signifies one more lap to go. Or at least in terms of pacing. We'll get a handful of laps in at the very end of this one. So I would estimate probably around 5 laps, 5 or 6 laps, I would say, to get under our belts before we get to see the checkered flag out there. 5 or 6 laps for KM to hold on to that lead. 5 or so laps for Yunki Ride, Ryosek, Norbert Noja out of nowhere, by the way. He's up in 4th place. Lovely Cha-Cha potentially from 5th as well. Any one of those. Maybe even some names deeper in the back could go away with this one, depending on how the battles at the front go.
We can only wait and watch. That's the best part. Our guess is as good as those in the cockpits. Only difference, they can control a part of it. But the rest depends on other drivers, other variables, other aspects around. This will be frantic.
Yeah, potentially. As we'll bring ourselves to the start then. The last restart confirmed here of the AMX Esports Championship at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We won't get one from this point forwards with green flag racing in the sprint to the end here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Ryosek ready out of the blocks, trying to go around the outside of Yunki Ride in towards turn number 1 and 2 here. He'll have to squeeze it down a little bit more to try and get that side draft, and if he can carry the speed on the outside, he might have the momentum to try and get clear. Down in towards turn number 3, Ryosek is clear. Now he can go chasing for Kiam.
This battle has held on. The gaps are open, the gaps are clean, and that could disappear in a matter of a couple of seconds. Ryosek having a very good run. Ryosek surging to the outside line now.
He's going to try and do exactly what he did on Yunki Ride, this time on Kiam as he tries to drive around the outside. Here, does he find the same success? He dips back in to try and find the side draft. He doesn't have the momentum he had this time, though, over Kiam compared to, he brings it down onto the apron. He's got himself a drive-through penalty. The stewards have intervened here, and Ryosek brings it down on towards the pit lane. That is a big call from the stewards. And now Kiam with 6.5 tenths of a second ahead. Can he get it to the end? It's a big draft back to Yunki Ride, though.
And that might just be it for Kiam. Or could it be? In 1 minute,
Whoa.
Things can happen. Things like that can happen.
Ryosek's also involved in that one. Well, car's slow on the racing line. Car's up on the fence almost. 35 seconds left to go. this will be 2 to go here. It's so marginal, 34 seconds across the line. We've been doing 33s in terms of lap times here, so it still remains to be seen whether we'll get one more lap to go. Younkie Wright is certainly hoping that it's at least one or two more, because he's closing in. He has the slipstream, and he might have an almighty run on KM here in the last lap. He's getting close already, coming through NASCAR turn 3 and 4. 10 seconds left to go. Do we go one more, or does it end here? We don't know, as KM heads his way across the line now. 1 second to go. We're going one more as Younkie Wright tries to find the line on the outside. Dips back in. No challenge from behind just yet, although Norbound Norja is the dark horse there in third place, looking to try and make an impact here. Coming down the back straight, he looks to the outside. Younkie Wright still stays in line. He's looking for the run to the line here at the moment. It is absolutely crazy stuff here in the final lap of the AMX Esports Championship at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Younkie Wright to the outside. KM, though, he has the legs and gets to the line. KM wins in a stellar finish here at Charlotte.
Let that sink in. Such an emotionally rewarding round of racing, this one. And Ulsan Dia Motorsport have clawed their way back in this championship. Kim, their savior for this round. This seems to be a real, surreal run of form for them right now. Things are going up for them.
Incredible to be able to hold on to that for KM as well. That is so important for Ulsan DR Motorsports. They pick up the win here. They're fourth in the points. They'll overtake Atlas BX for sure. At least in my mental maths, up into third place in the points. They might even challenge DCT E-Racing for second. But what a finish we saw here today. It wasn't a change of lead at the very end there, but it might as well have been with the intensity of that, Sumil.
100%. I just had to take a sip of water to calm myself down after all that happened. I'm leaving with that sort of feeling of where you feel your brain stressed out, just waiting and wondering about what the result would be. When sport can make you feel that, especially esport, I think it's something special. Yeah, it's not the best way to get there with all the carnage and the chaos, but the fact remains the same. It's got us excited. It's got us wondering who has the edge, who can get the imprint, who can make their mark on the championship right now. And this time, Ulsan DR Motorsport have swung for the fences, and man, has it been a home run.
Let's take a look at your unofficial race results from the feature event here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. KM comes away with the win by 81 thousandths of a second over Younkie Wright. Then Norbound Norja, what a performance from the 97, up into P3 with lovely Cha-Cha there. She secures P4 for DCT E-Racing, and her teammates right behind her. Soy gets 5th for DCT Racing as well. So another good day for the DCT cars here in this one. They reduce the points delta that they're losing to Ulsan DR Motorsports there, but we'll have to see how the mathematics works out at the end of the day. Grit Motorsports, Serai Kim P6, Jian Park Euro P7, Ryusuk, late race, drive-through penalty for Atlas PX Esports team. That must be heartbreaking there for Ryusuk. He was, imagine being in a position where couple of laps to go, going to be challenging for the race lead. You already got past one up into third. You're looking for the next one to put yourself on the top step, and you get the call, bring it down.
And when you can see that a big gap in the championship between Atlas BX and the ever so dominant DCT could have been closed up. This was the round where DCT did not have the best of races. Had Ryusuk been there, had he not had that penalty, imagine how big of a chunk of points they would have closed up to DCT right now. But they haven't. And that's what matters. The consistent team keeps building it up. And DCT Esports right now, sure, they may not have been the winners. But considering what could have been, I think they walk away with a big smile on their face.
The rest of the finishing results look like this. Lux P11, Urgent TV, who was a big challenger early on, down in P12, Dayan P13, Lee Americano P14, Chunil Kang P15, Hitsi 16th, Sungro Yum 17th, Desert Eagle 18th, and Mighty Mouth at the bottom of the order here today. So we'll have to catch our breaths. My word, I almost wrecked my voice in that whole sequence there. But this is the racing that we love to see. I mean, you said before the feature race, Seoul, that you wanted a photo finish, but we didn't quite get one here. But I think we got the next best thing, right?
I don't mind. I don't mind at all. This was emotionally very rewarding at the end to see a clean finish, and that was all that mattered. Yeah, it got messy at times. Let's not beat around the bush. Things did get messy at times, but when you're so connected to the championship, to the outcome, where you want to see which way this fight goes, you've got to feel for Ulsandia Motorsport, because all the way through the year, they've had many cases of bad luck. I mean, I remember Indy wasn't very good for them either. But to see them getting what I think a top 5 at Laguna Seca, now this right here at Charlotte, I feel happy for them. Now I want to see if anyone can genuinely take the fight to Team DCT E-Racing and DCT Esports on a consistent basis, which will be even more fun, because so far they've been dominating and having all the fun right now. There is a genuine chance, and what do I say about Atlas BX Connery? They're just losing the direction now all the way through. This is another big hit in their championship, to be honest.
Yeah, they've had these situations where sometimes it's their fault, sometimes it's not their fault with regards to how the races go. I mean, they had the penalties at with J-Hook at the Nürburgring, for example. You know, they've had their trials and tribulations here as well. Something's got to be put together, or at least gotten together by that team at some point, because they certainly have the pace to be up there and competing in every single one of these races, but sometimes the results just don't happen for one reason or another. And it results in DCT with their consistent top 5s, their consistent top 3s, just to keep putting points behind them.
And that reason, more often than not, is just contact. Maybe sometimes with somebody else, sometimes they're involved in some sort of contact. I mean, again, today they got a drive-through penalty, right? There's no a drive-through penalty. Someday I will get it correctly. But yeah, the fact of the matter is they've just not been clean. And what can you do with all that pace if you're not clean in the race? This makes me wonder about how they can sort of resurrect their championship fight right now, because DCT, they're actually running away with it, to be honest. But Ulsan are closing up, which is what makes me happy when I leave this round. This is just creating so many different probabilities all the way through, and even for that matter, teams like Team PS31, had it not been for that genuinely absurd incident that they had, Team PS31 were doing very good in the influencer races, as they have been all the way through. They could be somewhat like an outlier. Whenever we have influencers racing, PS31 always find themselves in the top 5. I'm intrigued with stuff like that. Just makes me want to watch all the races coming up later on in the season.
Yeah, and well, speaking of races coming up, we have, of course, the Junior Cup. We'll be heading to Laguna Seca for our next online round, so that will be in a week's time. For our AMX Esports Championship proper, we'll be having the real drivers take themselves to the track, and they give us a good show last time when they were alone at the Nürburgring, but this time they will be heading to Barcelona. We have opinions on that track, shall we say. But before we get into the whole nitty-gritty of Barcelona and how the championship is at the moment, we will have to, unfortunately, very quickly wrap up here today. But what a crazy event that we've had so far. Well, we've had a few crazy events, let's be completely honest. But the Junior Cup race, drama as ever in the at Summit Point Raceway there, and then we head into Charlotte here, where we're expecting a lot of action, but we're quite expecting the amount that we saw. But again, another fantastic finish in the feature race leads to KM's win in the number 999. But with that, my name has been Connery Maddock. That's been Sumil Arora, and we'll be joining you next week for the AMX Esports Championship as it heads to Laguna Seca and Barcelona. Goodbye.